be out there when we do our show next week, next Friday. Of course, 11 o'clock East every Friday night. VSiN.com, SiriusXM, YouTube TV, wherever great VSiN is found. And then, game of the year stuff. Dolphins laying the 2.5 at home. Bucks laying the 4.5. Week 10, both fading the overrated, in our estimation, Patriots. Kramer, I saw you added more plays.
Well, I realized I didn't throw in my Baker Mayfield 14-1 most passing yards.
That's a good. He was right around there, certainly. And we didn't discuss it, but what do you think about Tucker there to have the most rushing yards?
Tucker, Sean Tucker.
No, who am I? The
Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving. I don't know why I want to call him Tucker.
No, I wouldn't play it that way.
Okay,
I like Bucky
he's
Irving.
20-1.
I like. Bucky
he's getting
Irving.
a lot of fantasy buzz. It's probably some PPR stuff there.
I just think the issue with the running back volume you need to be at the very top is not something that's easy to come by. And I wonder if I just don't, with the way that this offense should be. Yeah, I don't think there's enough volume for the running backs.
Coming up next, wake up tomorrow with the VSiN Weekend Morning Line at 10 a.m. East, followed by Ready, Set, Bet at 1 o'clock. Then stick around for Live Bet Saturday at 4 o'clock East. So, and then a great watch along for Game 6 there of the NBA playoffs. Be interesting to see if we get a Game 7, Ryan.
When we get a Game 7.
Well, as a guy who's betting Knicks +4, I don't even know if you can say that. You don't believe in your team.
When?
You're like Stephen A. Smith with your reverse jinx. You should be on the Pacers laying the money.
I lied. Circa has all these markets.
Oh, great. Well,
we will be getting paper tickets.
So, Ryan, what is one paper ticket you're going to be smashing as soon as we get to the Circa counter there next Friday?
It's probably going to be so many good stuff. Malik Neighbors, Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay. And what is it? What do you think the price will be?
What do I think the price will be? I'd have to look it up. 35-1.
Oh, okay. Usually it goes to every once in a while it goes to a bad team. Good times as always. Big thanks to our guests, of course, Noah Beanick and the College Baseball Experience, Colby Dance, and the CFL Gambling Podcast. Our buddy CJ Sullivan over on the Bottom Line Bombs Podcast, and last but not least, Scott Reichel from the NBA Gambling Podcast, and so much more. Big thanks to all the help you get behind the glass. Producer Johnny. We'll see you guys next week live at the Circa. And of course, as always,
thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
Oh, Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green. He's Ryan.
Who makes us 55-1, Sean?
Kramer, let it ride.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of...
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem Sports Talk is on the iMedia1 Network, Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Nina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football. Or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. Navigate this beautiful day. May 31st is the day. It feels like March 31st. Weather-wise, it is absolutely 50 degrees out and rainy. It is cold here. And we are waiting for summer, or at least something close to late spring get here. It feels like early spring, almost late winter with it's 51, but it feels like 41 outside. But that is the weather report. And we'll move on, obviously, to the wonderful world of sports. Get to it today. Lot to navigate to. It's a kind of a hodgepodge of what is going on in the wonderful world of sports. Probably the headline is the NBA basketball. Minnesota decided not to show up for Game 5 versus OK City, and that would have been Wednesday night. And unfortunately, we had no basketball last night because Minnesota just figured we're down 3-1. We can't, there's no way we're beating OK City, but let's not even try to beat Oklahoma City. It was 24-9 after one quarter, and it was like you knew you could shut your TV off and read a book or see what else was on TV because
I sure didn't watch it no more.
No,
I didn't. I just seen I seen the second quarter, a little bit of it, and just seen the flow of the game. And I said, nah. I think I peeked back in. You know, you're always curious, around third quarters, late third. I said, did they make a run? Nah, it's worse. No. It was worse.
It was worse.
The score count was worse. I said, forget it. But, I'm going to tell you, Minnesota, you better get another top line player to go with Anthony Edwards because you'll be crying the blues soon when he has to re-up and says, you know what? Let me see if I can get more somewhere else and also have an opportunity to win a championship. Now, if you just want to stack up dollars, you may stay there. Because usually if you can stay home, you can get the most.
Yeah, that's usually the way it works. Well, it does work that way. Because that's with Luka.
Right.
That was the whole one of the reasons, if not the reason why they traded Luka.
Yeah.
Was if they were to re-up Luka under the way the NBA is, and since he was basically drafted by the team, he gets the max. He would have got $370 million.
Right.
Since they traded him, now he can re-up with the Lakers, but he doesn't get that $370 million. Right. He gets $200 million.
Yeah.
It's like almost like monopoly money.
Right. All of it is. But
it is.
It's just that they should not cry about it because I tell you, a guy, I don't want to criticize nobody, but it's just too many times Julius Randle disappears. And when he's on, man, is he on? Yeah, he is hard to stop. But he disappears too many times. You can't have a guy disappearing at long stretches. And then I'm watching Anthony Edwards trying to drive to the basket, and there's three guys on him. They just all three just following. He has a trailer, one beside him, one on the other side. They all over him. He's dribbling through them, but that's going to wear a guy out because he's not a one-sided player. He does play defense too, so he's going to be worn out. And those are your top line scorers basically on the team. Now you got other guys that definitely can score in spurts, but you need another guy. And I'm telling you, if they don't get somebody else, I can see him moving to another team. When that time comes.
Well, to kind of give you an idea with that game, it was 26-9, not 24-9 after the first quarter. So you think, well, maybe could this game be over? Well, yeah, because at halftime, when you basically do the fast math, it was 65-31 halftime. So if you decided to watch the second quarter thinking, let's see if Minnesota could they got off to a slow start. Could they work their way into it? Because they were only down at that time 17. Well, nah. They ended up, like I said, digging the hole deeper and deeper. And then you knew at half it was over. And then the second half, Minnesota made a little run at Thunder. Third quarter, they outscored the Thunder in the third quarter 30-23. But then the Thunder, by then the Thunder had everybody and the water boy in, and the Thunder, went on to win 124-94. So it was an absolutely dud of a game. I'm sure the ratings for this Western Conference have been really bad. These games have been incredibly bad between Timberwolves and Thunder when you break this series down and look at it.
Yeah.
And The first two games were blowouts. Then Minnesota blew the Thunder out in the third game.
Yeah.
Made it 2-1, but the game wasn't watchable because it was a game. That game was over at half. All these games have been pretty much over at half. I think the first game was relatively, but you knew the Thunder. You knew the Thunder was going to win it, but yeah,
it was a lot more. That had a little bit of intrigue in the first one,
right? There was a little bit more intrigue there.
Yeah, they pulled away at the end, but it was like back and forth for a long time.
Right. That one was actually a better game maybe than I'm saying it was. Yeah, they won. The Thunder won the first game 114-88. The Thunder won the second game 118-103. And then obviously the third game, Minnesota blew out the Thunder 141-101. That was a 42 point. And now the best game was game 4. The Thunder won 128-126. So that was a good one. That was the game. Well, look, game 4s can be the fork in the road game because it's always, can they tie it? Usually it's either going to win the series, sweep it, or you're going to make it a 3-1 or 2-2 series. And that game 4 historically is going to set your series up. Is it a good one or going to be a bad one?
Yeah.
And bottom line is it turned out that this was not a good one because when the Timberwolves lost game 4 and went down 3-1, they went home.
Yeah.
Mentally, they checked out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the thing was whereas in the Eastern Conference, you had the shock of the world with Indiana over
game
Cleveland
1.
like that.
Yeah. Indiana has been the team of destiny.
Yeah, because they won that first one. It was like, what? And then the second game, another game they should have lost. They won that too.
They won that one. That was the series.
And I said, oh my goodness. And then Cleveland looked pretty good, 3, but they didn't have nothing for them. It was over. And then with Boston series, if you looked at it at the beginning, you said, this looked like 2 blowouts. But they came back from 20 each time. And really played well. And then it was a tight from there, but they were able to control and win the series. And then the Indiana New York series that's been one to watch right there. That's intrigue all game long.
Yeah, these games have all been one thing you
almost get tired. You almost get tired when you watch that one because it's mentally draining.
It is.
Because it's back and forth. If somebody pulls away, they just draw them right back in. They can go up 15 and about 5 minutes later, it's down 3. I mean, it's quickly back and forth. And that has really been a good series.
The Pacers look to win the series tonight at home. The Knicks won game 5. I don't think
Pacers don't want it. They don't want to let this go back to New York for sure.
No.
They want to end this tonight.
Yeah, they want to end it tonight. You don't want to go game 7 in Madison Square Garden. With obviously everything on the line.
No, you have guys hanging from the rafters.
Right.
You're talking about sold out. It'll be guys everywhere in that thing.
Right now you would have it as the Knicks are at the Pacers tonight. And then if there is a game 7, that would be Monday night at 8:00.
Yeah.
Now the NBA needs it to go 7 games because if the Pacers win tonight, then there's no basketball until Thursday because that's when the finals start.
Right.
So they were lucky the Knicks won game 5 because then they would have been a whole week with no basketball.
Right.
So they're holding on. And these teams want these series to go 6 or 7.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they make – they lose money if it's a 4-game sweep, they lose money.
Yeah.
5 games, it's kind of borderline. They might break even, but they might lose a little money. Game 6, they get 6 games, they'll make some money, but game 7 is where that's where they make a boatload of money. I guess you could see but if it's a sweep of 4 games, that's not good.
Right.
Because teams you lose money.
And we're talking about people from the Raptors in New York. That's the way they'll be tonight in Indianapolis. It's going to be sold out.
Yeah, that'll be insane tonight.
Yeah, it'll be insane tonight. So we'll see if New York stay focused enough to do it. I'm hoping so, but this is a tough task because it just seemed like Indiana is destined. They're just destined. But even though they are destined, I don't know if they can beat the Thunder because they just come at you in waves of guys. It's just even though Indiana plays a lot of guys too, but these guys, it's just waves of guys just coming at you from the Thunder.
I mean, Thunder had the best record in basketball. So when you really look at the way it is, you look at the Thunder, they by far, they obviously won. They had the best record. I believe it was 66 games. Yeah, 68. The Thunder were 68-14. Cleveland had the second best record at 64-18. So the Thunder 68-14, best record, best team in basketball this year, 35-6 at home. Their away record is 32-8. So they're really an overall, really the best team.
Right.
And they've done away, the only Denver gave them the run in the playoffs. That was their challenge, and you kind of knew Denver would. I think what hurt Denver, they didn't quite have the depth to hang, and with OK City, because I just think OK is just probably a little bit better than Denver. Maybe Denver had more depth, that was close enough where maybe Denver wins the series if their depth was a little bit more, but they did not have it, and the OK City win it. But then OK City is just basically, they did away with Minnesota. That really was not a good series at all.
Right.
That was not a competitive series.
Yep.
That was, again, the Knicks and the Pacers has been very competitive. As you said, every game has been down pretty much. You got to watch it to the end of the game. Yeah. Now, Knicks controlled it, watching the game 5 Thursday night. The Knicks controlled it, but I was still watching that game thinking that, no lead is safe.
Yeah, because it hasn't been.
Right.
So every time it got in single figures, they're up 7.
Right.
You weren't like, I'm comfortable. They're up 9. I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable at all.
When I watched that game, being the Knicks fan that I am, I was like, I was not at any point in time feeling, they got this. No.
I wasn't comfortable at all.
Not at all. Until about the last 2 minutes. When there was about 2 minutes left and they were up double digits. And when Indiana pulled their starters, then I knew, it was over because they were waving the white flag and he pulled all the starters right at about the 2 minute mark when they were down double digits.
Save it for the game 6.
Yep. He said, this is it. We don't have this one. I'm not going to leave my starters out. Someone may get hurt, blow an ankle, hurt a knee, whatever.
Anything can happen.
Out. So bottom line is they pull the starters and I knew that, now I know. I felt I could breathe a little bit because now I knew it was over because Indiana was waving the white flag.
Right. Yep. It was a big difference there. So that's what we done seen in these series. But and it may be, it is compelling to wonder if, with either team, Knicks or Indiana playing, when you look at it on paper, you say they should just take care of both of them with ease. But they both make me wonder because they just play so hard. Could it still be a very good NBA championship series? I'm wondering because both of those teams in Indiana and New York play so hard. So, I just don't know. But will they, then again, you look at it and say, okay, how much do they have left after this series to play anybody? But however it go, I just know that they give effort. And I mean, they give all out effort. So we'll see. We know that I don't think we can look at OKC can just look at us. Don't worry about it. I think they're going to come out there and have to show these guys that, hey, we didn't win 68 games for nothing. And it showed that they got to be the best team.
In your opinion, who would give OK City a better run series? Indiana?
Well, I'm always going to say,
Knicks?
If I'm going to be biased, I'm going to say the Knicks.
But
if I look at it overall because of the extra bench, I'm going to go Indiana because of the youth of the bench and the youth.
Yeah.
Because they use so much of their bench.
They do.
And they are youthful that they are guys that can be running around all day long. New York has a bench, but they don't. Now I got to give it to Tibbs. I couldn't believe it when he started bringing it.
When they got in foul trouble, he brought in the bench and they played good.
Yeah, well, after he made the switch to Robinson starting, then all of a sudden I'm looking at Darrell Wright. He's off the bench, guy that wasn't playing. Why is it? He's a 10-year veteran.
Right.
Now he's playing, and then what's the other guy's name that's been all around the league? A good shooter. I can't think of his name right now. Number 44. He comes in, hits a lot of big threes. He's in the game. You started playing Prince a little bit in the front court because you needed him. I think you should have been doing it anyway so you can give Towns and
Landry Shamet. He's a
veteran. He's a guy that played on good teams too.
And he's
played
a good
on good
player.
teams.
Yeah.
So why aren't these guys playing? They can play under big condition, and he played not just offensively. I was looking at how tenacious he was on defense. Get these guys in there, and I'm glad he has been doing that lately because you got to rely more on his bench instead of wearing his starters out. And that's what that would be my worry with New York, that the starters would be so worn out. And we know OKC, when they get running, they love it. They love it and just keep running. And I just don't know if they can keep up with that. Whereas Indiana, they just so freewheeling and are young, they'll keep running. Now they may get blown off the court, but I bet you this, they'll have the energy to run around that court with OKC.
Yeah, that's kind of what, when I agree, like being the Knicks fan, obviously I want the Knicks to get into the finals. However, from just my, based on non-Knick fan, what do I see from just an independent person looking at a basketball? I would say that look at the matchups, Indiana, because of their depth and their ability to hit three, their 3-point shooting can just be deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana would be probably a better matchup for OKC. However, saying that, I don't think either the Knicks or Indiana can beat OKC. I just think OKC's got way too much talent coming at you off the bench.
Yeah.
And what's his name? They got the MVP, SAG, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
And
who plays at a
SGA,
Yeah, I don't even know what you say, just plays at a smooth pace. Never looked like he's ever rattled either way. He's only got 7 points. I done heard them scream about it. He's playing really terrible. And then fourth quarter, he has 35 points, 9 assists, and and it don't even seem like he even scored them.
Right.
I don't even remember how he scored them because he's just chugs along.
Right. He's got that easy way
about him that you don't realize it. Where other scores, like if I was watching Steph Curry, I can look at him and say, I know this guy got 60.
Curry's got 60 points.
Right, you get to see it.
He's making, but
he's just going crazy.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
I don't even realize he has it.
You don't realize he's putting up the points.
Right, at all.
Just kind of like,
it's
you
weird.
don't realize he's scoring all these points in the fourth quarter as the team's pulling away.
Yeah.
But they just have, I think, OK City is just too much.
Yeah, it's just too much.
The only question's going to be if you were to ask me, I would say probably the Pacers win it tonight, even though being a Knicks fan, I'm hoping the Knicks can force a game. However, I don't rule out that if there's a game 7, the Pacers beat New York in New York either at game 7. That would not surprise me.
No. Winning at either court for either team will not
because
surprise
home court on this
doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter.
We already done seen it so far, right?
Really haven't seen it. Yeah.
I mean, New York's beat them once in Indiana, right?
Yeah.
They beat New York twice.
Right.
So
and the Knicks have game.
Well, 3, didn't they? Yeah, they beat them 3 times in New York.
No, they beat them twice in New York.
Yeah.
Once in Indiana.
And they lost in Indiana.
And they lost in Indiana, lost in New York.
Yep,
so
the
Knicks are 1-2 and 1-1 in Indiana.
Yeah.
As they roll into game 6. So
and they had a chance of winning that other game too.
Yeah, they did. And they had
chance.
and the turnovers.
The turnovers did.
What's killing the Knicks when you watch them, Brunson, especially with these turnovers.
Yeah, no.
There's just too many turnovers, and that's what's cost them the game.
And I think Stan Van Gundy made a great point. He said at times they start taking the ball away from Brunson, bringing it up and allowing other guys to do it so he's not worn out.
Right. Yeah.
Because they was guarding from baseline to baseline, and they're pushing and they're shoving, they're bumping, they're doubling, and doing. And then he's got to score and play defense. The guy gets one, but he is in great shape. I give it to him. But it's too much. And it seemed like when that game there where they took that off of him, they couldn't stop him. He had so much energy. He was scoring at will on them. And I think they need to do that. They got to do it more often. You got to allow somebody else. You like Bridges, you got to let other guys bring it up.
You got to have other guys bring it up, and you also have to use your bench a little bit more.
And let Wright and all them play. You got to let them play.
You got to give those guys breathers, and especially the Knicks starters. And the game where they came back from 20-1, that was the game the Knicks got into foul trouble, and he used the bench, and they won the game. And that's when Charles Barkley was talking to Kenny and Shaq, and they were saying, well, Charles came out with, I don't understand why now he's using his bench. He hasn't used it all year. I don't understand his rotation. And then, Shaq was like, yeah, I said, they agreed that it was more the foul trouble that was the reason why Coach Tibbs had to go to the bench.
Right.
Was because of foul trouble.
Right.
But if they weren't in foul trouble, he wouldn't go to the bench. Well, maybe now they said, now moving forward, you look like your bench is better than you thought it was.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to start using your bench a lot more in this series. And it looked like at least he did it in game 5. They won it, and they were kind of in control of game 5. Now, tonight, game 6 at Indiana.
And he needs to use them.
And he does need to use
those guys.
You got to use those guys, like you said.
I mean, Brunson had a nice break.
Right.
Even Towns was out for quite a while, and you could do it. Get them guys out, give them a break, and do that. And Bridges seemed like he plays the whole game too. But maybe you can break him in there sometimes too. But maybe you can't do everybody. But the guys that are your main scorers like that, and Towns and Brunson, they need big time breaks.
Yeah, and then the only thing with Karl Anthony Towns and Charles, has told them is you got to stop the stupid fouls.
Yeah,
he's right.
Some is not fouls, but some is stupid. Like one time,
yeah, he had one foul. He just
pushed the guy.
Right.
What you pushing for?
Right.
If he makes it, he just makes it.
Right.
Contest the shot if you want.
Well, then he came down to one. I watched him. He just grabs the guy bare. I mean, right. The ref's there, and he called the foul. It's like, and that's what Charles.
Yeah, and he was trying to get
Barkley
position,
said.
but why grab him around his neck?
Right. And that's what Charles Barkley says: is you got to stop with the dumb fouls.
Yeah, so those are dumb. Those
They're
obvious. I see it.
Obviously, I see it, and they're stupid. And then why are you doing them? It's like it doesn't make sense what you're doing. It's like you've got to stop it. And it's like it's all good stuff. I mean, I enjoy Barkley and Shaq and that group and Kenny and. They do a great job, and I like listening to that post-game show. I mean, ESPN, not as much, but I really like the TNT.
No, TNT's is better.
TNT's much better.
Even though I look at it and I say, I like Perk, I like Stephen A, I like them, but they don't have
that energy, the chemistry.
The chemistry is not there. And just the basketball analogy. Not that they don't know bad. They know it.
They know.
But it's something about theirs that just seems so in depth.
Right.
That I like it a lot better.
Kenny and the way they play off one another. Like you could see the way that Shaq and Kenny and Ernie is, and then Ernie kind of knows what to ask to get Ernie's the kind of
he's a facilitator. That's what I call him.
Facilitator.
Yeah.
And he's the one that knows how to ask the question, and he knows what the answers, but he knows how to stir the pot to get those guys going.
And they get going.
And that's what makes it so entertaining.
Yeah.
And Ernie knows how to do it so well. He's been doing it forever, but he's so good at it.
Right.
And then he gets Charles going, and then Charles will say anything.
Right.
And that'll get Shaq, then Kenny's trying to be the kind of the level it out. He analyzes it, but he gets cranked up too. That's what makes it such a great show, is the interaction between those guys. It's like,
and that's why the networks knew.
Oh yeah,
because they said, "Hey, we got to work out something to keep these guys still a part of this NBA."
Oh no, yeah,
because it would die. It would die. It could.
Oh yeah,
it's not good.
No,
it's just not.
Like I listen in the morning to the Two Pros, a Cup of Joe, and that's Jonas Knox and Brady Quinn and LeVar Arrington, and they're good. But Jonas Knox actually said that during the regular season, I just watch them. I don't even care about the game. I'm watching those guys.
Yeah, I have done that too.
And I think a lot of people do that.
At halftime and the postgame.
They will go on some games playing. You don't really care about the game. But you get to halftime, you'll flip them on because you want to hear what they have to say.
Right.
And then, then after they get back into the second half, then you'll wait till the game's over and flip them on to see what happened. And you want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're must-watch TV.
Yeah, it is. And they know. They knew they lost millions.
Oh, yeah.
Letting those guys not be a part of anything.
Yeah, you got to have them. First quarter in the book. Second quarter coming up. Saturday morning sports page.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Ohio, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who play high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page. Back at you, 330-707-4202, talking NBA basketball. Announcers talking about the Shaq and Barkley and Kenny Smith doing and Ernie, the post game guys on TNT, they're valuable. That's a show in itself.
Yeah. You had to keep it around.
And the only sad part is we talked off air, but I miss Van Gundy and Jackson. Mark Jackson and Van Gundy were really good. And why they did away with them, I don't know, but they did. And Reggie's okay. I like Reggie Miller, but I think he's in a tough spot. Yeah. He's trying to stay impartial, but he's an Indiana Pacer.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very hard.
It's hard. And I think I give him he does a good job in trying to stay, impartial, but you could tell that he gets a little carried away.
Yeah.
And he's rooting for the Pacers.
Right.
And I get it. I don't really hold that against him because that's a tough spot to put Reggie Miller in to say you have to remain impartial. Yeah, but you were a Pacer.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. And
I used to listen to games and he still does games for NBA TV is Greg Anthony.
Yeah, Greg Anthony.
And when the Knicks is on, he rips them for not playing hard as they used to play.
Right.
And then when they're doing what they're supposed to, you could just see he's rooting for these guys. He can't help it.
But you can't help it. He was a Knick.
Right.
He played with all those Knick teams, got to the finals in the 90s and lost. But he's a Knick.
He's a Knick.
That's
who he is. So it's not as hard as this.
No, he's not going to. I mean, he can be impartial, but again, you can't put those guys. Now, football's a little different because Troy Aikman's really good.
Yeah.
And when he does the Cowboys, in fact, he's more critical of the Cowboys.
Sure. He rips them sometimes.
He rips them sometime, which I find kind of amusing because here he is. He's, 3 Super Bowls in his pocket with the Cowboys, and he was the last quarterback to win the Super Bowl with Dallas, which was now over 30. He's going on 30 years.
Yeah.
So, bottom line is, but he does a pretty good. I like Troy Aikman, and
he'll ripping him in a minute.
But he'll rip the team, and he doesn't hold back.
No, and I think he just looks at it and says, "Look how this team is operated." I even seen in a backhanded way. He didn't say it. But in a backhanded way, he even ripped Jerry Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Because he talked about Jimmy Johnson and how they did things and how Jimmy came in and just turned the switch on to him and got this team from a 1-15 to the next thing you know, he just blossomed. And it was like a backhanded slap at Jerry Jones.
Well, I think it's obvious. I mean, because it's so true.
Yeah.
Because Jerry Jones, got rid of Jimmy, and the team has not made it back to a conference final. I mean, okay, Barry Switzer won the Super Bowl with Jimmy's team,
right?
In 1995,
right?
But since then, they haven't made a conference final and they haven't been in a Super Bowl, and that's over 30 years now. And you're almost like looking at the Cowboys. And you're looking at them this year. I don't see them going to a Super Bowl this year.
I know, even though people are saying early on that they think they may be a sneaky team.
Well,
and they do have the ability, if they can get a running game going, they could. They always have some very good athletes. I'd just be wondering about the entire coaching staff.
Right, there you go.
And no meddling into that coaching staff.
Well,
and see if we can keep that cohesiveness together.
The problem you've had with the Cowboys is Jerry won't stay away. He meddles and he gets involved and he's the GM and he's trying to, and he's coaching the team behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So he's meddling there. And I just think he drives a lot of people crazy. And now I know Schottenheimer is the coach. Brian Schottenheimer is the coach. And I just think Jimmy made him coach because Jerry knows at the end of the day that he can manipulate him the way he tells him what to do. But
I hope some inner Marty is in him.
Yeah, I hope so too.
And all of a sudden he's wondering, who's this guy talking back crazy to me? Because Marty would say whatever and get fired.
Yeah, Marty would. Yeah.
Ask anybody that goes 12-4, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that Marty went
with the Chargers. They lost the first game.
Yeah,
they lost the playoff game and got fired.
He got fired. But that's because he had a lot to say to the front office, right back
and
to
that,
him.
Well, it's the Chargers, too.
But he didn't play. He didn't hold no. I mean, he held nothing back.
No.
And he would do the same thing to Jerry Jones. And I don't think he would mesh real well with Marty Schottenheimer. No. So if Brian Schottenheimer has any of that in him, can be a very interesting season.
It's going to be interesting to see with this season, especially like I said, you'll start looking at these teams with NFL football and see where it goes. We were talking a little bit. We started off with the Minnesota Timberwolves just to kind of give you an idea, Dave Clark. Anthony Edwards' contract, he's under contract through 28-29.
Okay.
So he's got
some time.
4 more years.
Yeah, he's going to be, guys, you got to bring something. You got to get something here.
Jaden Daniels is also under contract for 4 more years.
Another good player.
Now, if you're the Minnesota, and Dante DiVincenzo's got 2 more years under his deal.
Wish he was still a Knick. I'm sorry.
Me too. No, they miss his. They kind of miss his shooting. I mean, Nick's 3-point is so erratic, but
I like this shooting. Just his tenacity on the court.
Yeah, I think
it was sure enough Villanova tenacity out there for sure. When them guys was playing, they played together so well.
You have now. Here's the question's going to be in Minnesota with this team. Julius Randle is coming in to an opt-in year, opt-out. Julius Randle can opt in to his $30 million, almost $31 million. And Naz Reid is also an opt-in for 15. Both these players can opt out and be free agents. So Naz Reid and Julius Randle for Minnesota Timberwolves could opt out of their contract and become free agents. So Minnesota, ultimately has to decide if they opt out, which you probably think they will.
I do. I definitely think Naz
will definitely opt out.
I think he can get more on the open market. I really do think he could somewhere get more on the open market. But is it with a team that's at the bottom of the barrel? Do you want that money? Or do you want to still have a chance to be in the playoff run and the push and everything like that? So that's going to be key.
Naz Reid will be 26 in August, so he's young.
Yeah.
So Naz Reid probably, like you said, if you're looking at a player to sign, you could sign. You could say, okay, he's 26. He will be 26. Julius Randle right now will be 31 in November. He's 30. So Julius Randle has got about $30 million due him this year coming up. So if he opts out, he's a free agent. The question is going to ultimately be, where does he end up at? Does he re-sign with Minnesota or they let him go?
Right.
Because this problem is he's hot cold. He shows up some games and it's just
another times like
another game
on the roster.
Right. Is he on the roster? He goes totally disappears.
Yeah.
Or he'll come out and light it up and thinking, man, this guy's he's a top 5 player in the league.
Yeah,
and then he turns around and you're thinking, is he still on the team? Because he's disappeared.
That's what he used to drive me crazy in New York.
With the Knicks, he used to drive everybody, like you said, every Knick fan would go crazy.
And
you get the good Julius Randle.
Yeah.
And then you get the other one that's like, well, what happened?
And I remember him saying, I play this small forward position or I power forward, either one. And I play it like it's supposed to be played. Okay, I give you that. But you can't talk to me as a New York Knicks fan and talk about a small forward because there's a guy who was named Bernard King that I never worried about whether he's going to put up or shut up. That guy was something else. He's from somewhere else because you're going to get every bit and every ounce out of him. So, this guy goes to sleep sometime. I mean, I seen it was one of the games, and I know you could probably pull it up. He had 5 points. his line that went across, it said he scored 5. And I couldn't remember if that was something I seen at the end of the game or at halftime. But he had 5. It might have been the full game. And they got blown. And I said, there's no way as a key player you got 5 points. Now, people might say, well, he just had an off game. No, he wasn't even shooting the ball. There's no way that he should get 6 shots or 7 shots. Demand the basketball. You're one of the key players. Those guys got to demand the ball. You know, that's the way it seems like I've always learned from NBA and watching it and hearing from the greats. You demand the basketball, things are not going right. And and for some reason, he's had some awful games.
Yeah, he's had some bad games where he just hasn't.
Now, what if they lost both Nas Reed
and Julius Randle?
But if that happens, you have to go wholeheartedly after Giannis. I mean, you got to go crazy and try to get him. He's in Milwaukee. Can we just get him right over here to Minnesota? You'd have to go crazy if you lose both of them. You got to get Giannis. You have to go all out to get him there.
Well, you kind of start looking at the landscape of the upcoming free agency with the NBA. They list the players, player option, all-stars with options, unlikely to move. That LeBron number 1. LeBron's got the player option, $52 million. So he could decide if he wants to opt in, take the money for 1 more year, or opt out and be a free agent. From what I understand, it seems that LeBron's going to stay there,
right,
and opt in and play. This might be his last year, maybe not.
Right,
depends. He's still playing pretty good at his age.
Which is
so he's insane. Not really. I mean, he's not the old LeBron as you know, but he's still top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
So your question is going to be with LeBron is, does he leave the Lakers or does he stay? And I think he's probably staying there. Yeah. If I were to venture to guess.
Like I said, the only thing, if he went back to the East Coast, the only thing you can think of is
either
Cavaliers,
New York or Cleveland.
Yep. Them the only 2 teams I could think of that he would even think of playing for. And if he stays out west and it's not the Lakers, the other team I could think of is him at Golden State. I don't know how they would do it. I don't know how they would facilitate it. I don't even, but they always have done crazy things that I never figured out anyway. But that's the only team I can think of out west, unless he went to a young team that we're not thinking about. I just don't see him being there, but down in Houston. But other than that,
right now, when you look at Golden State.
What if he went to Denver? That could happen.
Could.
Because they may have some space.
Let's see. Well, the thing with Golden State is Curry's there for 2 more years. Curry makes $59 million next year, $62 the following year. Jimmy Butler makes $54 million next year and $56 million the following year.
Yeah,
they're not going anywhere.
Right.
Draymond Green is due $25 million next year. Then he has an opt-in contract the following year, $27 million. So Draymond is probably there, not going anywhere. Gary Payton II is a free agent. Mm-hmm. Buddy Hield is actually there for 2 more years, and then he can opt out in 27, 28. So when I look at the way the landscape is, Moses Moody is also there for 3 more years. Okay. Golden State kind of is set. Now, Jonathan Kuminga is a player. They have a team option or qualifying offer next year. They have to decide what they want to do. This is $10 million. That's where I think he can go out and shop around, and then Golden State can either match it or he leaves. So that's going to be Golden State's decision. But their core of Stephon Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield are there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going anywhere. Then the question going to be, Right now they're at 178 million. Next year they go to 164 million. How do they fit LeBron James into that mix?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they can do it. So that's going to be the question moving forward when you start looking at potential places for LeBron. And then the question is, what kind of contract do you give him? I mean, he's going to be LeBron's going to obviously be looking for, he makes the opt-in is for 52 million. You're going to have to at least match that or give him more.
Yeah.
I don't think Golden State could do it because they just have too much money wrapped up in those players. So that'll be interesting. But, the Lakers are kind of coming to the old fork in the road, sort of to speak, because now they got Luka for one more year, and then Luka's got the opt-out or opt-in at 48 million in 26-27. So they're going to be probably looking at Luka to extend him out. Usually that's what they do before the before the opt-out comes,
right?
They decide. This is the year I think the Lakers decide: do we sign Luka long-term and get him for 5 more years and extend him out, or do we potentially let him go in and see if he opts in or opts out?
Right.
Which I don't think they're going to do. Austin Reeves is same thing. He's got the contract at 13 million next year, but he's got the opt-out or opt-in at 14 the following year. So the Lakers have a lot of, actually, when you look at the Lakers, the way they're kind of mapped out, after next year, I mean, they could pretty much lose the team. After 26 season, Luka can opt in and Austin Reeves, but they have opt-out contracts.
Yeah.
So after 26, the Lakers could be starting over. Literally starting over, like brand new, because you have guys that, if they decide to let Luka go and don't sign him, which I doubt they'll do that, they'll have to sign him.
They got to do it this year.
But they got to do it this year.
I think so. I don't think you can't let it run into the year of a decision whether I want to opt in or opt out. I think you got to get him extended.
Yeah, I think you do, because, then the Lakers have to decide when you start looking at the roster, what are they going to do here?
Yeah.
You got the executive of the year, Pelinka, by the NBA, and after they give him the award, they don't have a center, and the coach doesn't have the bench, and they get, basically taken to the woodshed by the Timberwolves and lose 4-1.
I mean, they better get him.
They got to figure it out. I mean, I just look at the way Dorian Finney-Smith has got an opt-out or opt-in this year, 15 million. He can opt out and leave.
Right.
And then Max Kleber is 11 million this year, and Gabe Vincent is 11.5 million. But after that, they're free agents.
Yeah, I mean, they got to make some moves because
right.
I just said he really shocked me because when I seen what he was doing, okay, you bringing Luka over here. Now you're trying to get the guy, I think it was Williams from Charlotte.
Right, that didn't work.
It didn't work out. Okay, I was all for it because you need a center.
Yeah, you got to find a center.
You have a guy that's playing overseas in great shape. Yeah, he's older, but he said, hey, I know how to physically handle Jokic.
Right.
And he's not telling a lie. That was Dwight Howard. It actually seemed like Joker was a little intimidated when he played against him. He would just physically bottom him up, give him a lot of, and they would allow it to go because I guess from his reputation of being defensive player a year for so long, they let some things go. And he just played well against Luka.
He actually did.
Yeah. And he kept lobbying Lakers, I'll come back. I don't care. I'll play for just $1 million. And they would not. It was like they had something against him. And then they kept bringing up other guys. Oh, we're bringing in this guy and that guy. They didn't bring anybody in.
No, they never did.
It never did. And it really showed up when you started playing Dorian Smith.
Yeah, Dorian Finney-Smith
at center, kind of, because he was sometime having to watch the center. You had LeBron watching the center. You had forwards in there just getting manhandled,
and that's what.
And it didn't make no sense.
You turn Rudy Gobert into Will Chamberlain, and
looked like the greatest thing since sliced
Gobert
bread.
Looked like the greatest center in
history.
I mean,
he just was,
and he just
those numbers were Chamberlain like.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, I hate to say it.
You were. Rudy Gobert had, like you said, the rebounds and the points.
Remember that one game he had, 30-something points and 27 rebounds?
Yeah, and Shaq had to basically go, I can't believe I'm saying this.
Yeah, he started calling, what did he call him? Jabbar. He started calling Rudy Jabbar.
And he's shaking his head. He goes, I can't believe I'm going to say this. And he put his head down and shook it for a bit. And they're all laughing at him.
Yeah, Rudy Jabbar.
He goes, Rudy Jabbar.
Yeah, he kept saying that. That's what he kept saying. Rudy Abdul. He's just unstoppable. Shaq he wouldn't have had he wouldn't have had nothing against Shaq. He would have intimidated him like no other.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's just, but he looked like a world beater out there, and the Lakers were a laughing stock. They actually was a laughing stock of a roster when you didn't have the guys that you picked up that I thought was decent players. What was his name? Oh, it wasn't his last name wasn't West, but I forgot. They picked him up from Houston, and he was always a very efficient guy for wherever he was at. But he was injured the entire season, so he sat there.
Was it Jackson Hayes?
No, not Jackson Hayes, because he played.
But he played.
This guy did not play. He played early on, and then he was injured the rest of the season and did not play. And his offensive skills is good. He blocks shots. I cannot think of his name. I don't know if you look on that roster. As soon as I hear it, I'll recognize it. But you had this guy there, unable to play. What is that doing for your team?
Was it Maxi Kleber? Cleaver, was it?
No, it's not him.
All right. We'll get there. We'll figure it out.
I think did he play for Dallas too? I think he did play for Dallas also at one time. But he should be on their roster if you look through their entire roster, but he did not play anymore. And I said, you really don't have any centers.
No, you don't.
Without this guy unable to play, you have no legitimate center out there that can at least, withstand getting rebounds, blocking some shots, being some kind of rim protector. No, this guy, now it's just done got to me. It makes me want to look him up.
Not Christian Wood.
There it is.
Yeah, Christian Wood.
He was injured all year.
Yeah.
And he was always a guy that was reliable everywhere he went. You could put him in. You could play him 20 minutes a game.
And he's a free agent.
And he's free.
$3 million. They only paid him $3 million, but now he's a free agent. And you're getting with the Lakers, if for all those hardcore Laker fans out there, when you look at the roster and you really see they did not have a good year. I mean, I know they won 50 games. We had this conversation many times. When you're the number 3 seed and you win 51 games, but you get blown out pretty much in the first series against Minnesota 4-1, and you really weren't competitive in that series. Minnesota pretty much had their way with you. And if you look at your history, you haven't done well in the last 4 years. I mean, you won the title in the COVID year, but after that, you've done nothing.
Right.
So you're looking at it as, and you got the executive of the year in Pelinka, but then you look at the team get absolutely manhandled, and then Redick has no bench, the coach, and now he's getting flack saying, but, he's like, hey, I didn't have a bench to play. And, people are blaming him for some of those losses because he didn't figure out the bench. But you could sit there and...
True. And then you got to get on him about the one game where he just not sub no one.
No, he didn't sub anybody.
Are you kidding me? You can't do that.
You've got to, give these guys a blow.
Yeah.
And you got to give him a break. And he didn't.
You got a not in shape Luka. You're going to play him all game.
Yeah.
You got a 41-year-old
LeBron
running around. You're going to play him all game long. You can't do that. Those guys have to get that break in there.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at, like I said, with LeBron, his age. I mean, you can't have him out there 48 minutes.
And then you
expect.
And part of those minutes, he's playing center.
Right, and he's playing center because you don't have a center. And, people are just figuring out, you roll a team out with no center. You can't guard, and then you have you're letting Rudy Gobert just own you on the boards, rebounding and scoring. He's just having a field day. And again, it wasn't really a good year for the Lakers at all.
I mean, they got to do something.
So we got
to see something.
Right. And now you've got this roster, and I'm starting looking at it. You have one more year with this roster, and then after that, you can pretty much start over.
I've been saying in the past, don't get rid of Austin Reeves, and stuff like that. But he is a valuable piece. If you want to get another top-notch player, you might have to give up Austin Reeves. You may have to. You got to do something to that roster. That roster is a mess.
It is.
It's a mess.
No, but it is.
You're keeping Luka. You know that.
You have to, yeah.
And then if you're not going to allow, if you're going to say, you know what, well, we're going to let LeBron go sign somewhere else, then do that and bring in whatever you got. But you have to do something.
Yeah, because you'll get $52 million.
Yeah, now you're opening up to bring in all kind of young talent. So now you open
up the door, and if you don't sign Dorian and LeBron's due $52 million, and Dorian Finney-Smith is due $15 million in opt-ins. Now, if both opt out, that opens up at least $68 million. Quite almost $68 million frees up for the Lakers.
And who do you bring in?
Now you
bring in Giannis.
Then now do you set it up for Luka and Giannis to be your team?
That's why I hate to say it, but that's LeBron did great, but hey, he'll go somewhere else. He's not going to go to no other friend. He's going to go where he can win, get him there, and allow it to be.
And that's going to be the question. Does LeBron opt in or opt out?
Yeah, that's the key.
Saturday Morning Sports Page halftime. Back after this quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
The stations that always keep you in the zone.
I love it.
It's awesome.
Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast, Youngstown, Ohio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Nina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
Saturday Morning Sports Page back at you. 330-707-4202. get in, talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here, and here is Western Reserve Radio. I'm Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. Dave Clark, as we talked a lot with the Lakers, it'll be a very interesting year.
Yep.
With the Lakers for LeBron James. What does he do? And you start looking at what a lot of people are wondering, does he opt in or opt out? Last rumor is he's more likely to opt in and play at least one more year. And this is from, it looks like, CBS Sports has got, will he stay put for $52 million? And the NBC says it's more likely he will stay put. So everybody's waiting.
Yeah.
Because LeBron's going to dictate right now where the Lakers go.
Yeah. Well, I seen, and you probably seen it too, where, as I was talking about, getting rid of Austin Reeves, like you said, Dorian Smith, he has a opt-out. If they can allow him to be gone, they named a couple others that they really could get the big three, and with him, Giannis, and Luka. And they can get that in that contract by, it was something with the date though. They said they would have to give Luka his money after a certain date. And they can actually facilitate this situation to happen.
Well, here's the way it looks. If you look at the way their roster is laid out, next year, LeBron's an opt-in.
Okay.
Luka's there for $46 million. Okay. Rich Hachimura is there for $18 million. He's not going anywhere. He's there. Austin Reeves is there for almost $14 million. Max Kleber is there for $11 million. Mm-hmm. Gabe Vincent is there for 11.5, and Jared Vanderbilt is there actually for 2 more years till he opts out. But he's there $11 million. The whole point is that. And actually, when you break it down, how they've got that guaranteed money laid out, it's pretty much those players aren't going anywhere. The only 2 players potentially and I'm not going to go through the bench, but LeBron and Dorian Finney-Smith are 2 opt in or opt out. If they opt out, we talked $68 million is open. There's your Giannis.
Right.
The challenge is going to be if LeBron opts in and maybe Dorian Finney-Smith opts out, can you get Giannis? But I think you got to trade. You would have to trade the Austin Reeves
and Rudy, because that was part of that scenario. I was telling you, and they said Rudy has played so well at times that they hate to do that, but for Giannis, they would do that.
Yeah.
With Dorian Smith not coming in and getting rid of Austin Reeves and Rudy,
right,
and bringing in Giannis.
Yeah, that would give you. Rudy is $18 million next year.
Right.
Hachimura is $18 million. Austin Reeves is 13. Say $14 million. So you got 14. That's $32 million. There,
and then Dorian out,
and if Dorian's out, that's 15.
So now you up to what, almost 50 million, and then you could sprinkle in the others by getting rid of a little here, there.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you've got Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, and Kleber, Max Kleber at 11 million. Maybe if you get rid of what you do is if you trade Gabe Vincent or Kleber. Then you've got it because that's their 11 million.
Yeah. And I really think that's the way they're going to go.
And that's probably the way.
Giannis is about 30, right? Somewhere in there. He might be, or 31, but should have about 5-6 years left in him.
Let's see.
And there's your franchise.
Giannis's contract next year pays him $57 million, then $62 million. And let's see, he will be 31 in December of this year. So he's 30, but 31.
It'd be a perfect time for there that LeBron plays and then turns that stuff over to them.
Right.
Let them run it. That's the new Lakers.
If you could manage Giannis in with LeBron going out, but have Giannis and LeBron and Luka
for 1 year. You could really do something.
Then maybe you can make, but boy, that West is tough.
It's still tough. Yeah, it's still tough, but it'll make them a
But it'll make them a lot because there's your center that you don't have.
Right.
And you solve that problem.
And he can play, and see, that's the thing. He's a power forward, but does play center.
Then all you have to do
to
is figure out the rotation with the bench, because obviously at least you have a coach that doesn't think you have a bench.
Right.
So now you've got to figure out with either, bring JJ and Redick and say, okay, get him involved as far as, how do we get a bench here? Because we got to have at least some people coming off a bench. I mean, you just can't play the 5 players, especially when you have a LeBron. If you're keeping LeBron for another year, LeBron's going to be 41 years old in December. So you can't expect LeBron to keep playing 40 minutes and then, roll him into the playoffs. You can't wear him out at 40 minutes a game. You've got to figure out a way of winning, but have LeBron play limited minutes and gear it so he can at least maybe step up a little bit more in the playoffs, but you can't wear him out either.
Right. And I just think that's the way they have to go. They got to bring Giannis in. The talk is going to be, well, there it is. LeBron always bringing in somebody. But you know what? When you really look at, they need to do that period as a franchise because he's on his way out.
Yeah.
And you want to keep, and it's the Lakers. You want to keep that glitz and glamour. Now you got 2 guys there. They could be there, and now we'll see what's coming up. And what's coming up is the Minnesota. You're not winning, and it's 2029, and you're not winning, and we have a Giannis that's 35 years old now. We need a younger superstar. Oh, Anthony Edwards, would you like to come over? I mean, that's just the Laker way.
Usually that is the Laker way.
Yeah. And
they've always done it that way. They've always kind of recruited off of everybody's roster.
They'll just take them off
back.
Of a guy.
You can go back history, many years.
That's what they have done it. They'll draft pretty good, but they'll always get a superstar guy somewhere. Yeah, they bring them. They just do it. They just know how to do it. They bring Shaq in. They say, "Oh, you don't want this young kid over here, Charlotte. You're not really." We don't think he's going to be that good. So they get Kobe over and he becomes a superstar.
Jerry West, GM did that. Yeah.
He said he's seen superstar written all over him where they thought he would just be a fill-in type of a guy that could not play until maybe he got into his 20s. I remember them saying that. They didn't think he had the capabilities. And Jerry West said, I think he could play right now.
And he was right.
And he was right. Even though he played off the bench for the Lakers in that first year, and then towards the end, he started starting. He was ready for the NBA right away.
Yeah.
He physically had to, that's what you've seen in the games. He had a high school body. That's what he had. Everybody is not LeBron that comes in with a body that's already ready, out of high school. This guy had a high school body. What had happened is he got in the weight room, changed his physicality. Kobe did, and the rest was history.
And when you really think about it,
because he was a thin, wiry guy but he could do everything.
But he came right out of high school.
Yeah, came right out. Yeah. As soon as he changed the physicality of the body and being able to go inside, bang, always driving to the hole.
When he started to develop,
he was just a different guy.
The Dallas Mavericks have an interesting situation with Kyrie Irving.
Here's another one, yes.
Kyrie has an opt-in or opt-out for $42 million. Everybody thinks now because he's got the Achilles. Now, he probably won't be back until later sometime next year. So he's going to opt in for the $42 million. I don't think he's going to opt out and be a free agent. He's Kyrie. You never know.
Right.
They have Klay Thompson for next year for $16 million guaranteed in there. And then Anthony Davis is there for 2 more years till he can either opt in and opt out. So you're Dallas. You got to decide what you're going to do with Kyrie, or what is Kyrie going to do?
Yeah. He's the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA.
Yeah, he's the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA.
But you don't know what those guys.
You don't know. They still don't know what Rodgers is doing.
He came. He said, "I got an announcement. I'm going to take a 1 year, not a 1 year. What did he say? A 1 day contract with the Green Bay Packers,
right?
So I can retire there." Now he didn't say he was getting ready to retire.
No, he just said that he would do that.
Yeah,
but they don't. Right.
What about the Steelers? They're asking about Steelers.
No.
He still hasn't said anything. I do think he's going to sign with Pittsburgh, even though it's starting to throw New Orleans in there. But I still think he's going to sign.
Well, he doesn't. The thing is, it's sliding over to football a little bit. I know we're talking a lot.
We can't help it.
Which we can't help.
I went there. I seen that slope. I slipped down, door. And I slipped right into the NFL.
Open up the door. The maze we're in. It's the door that's opening from the maze we're in. The show is a maze of doors that open from the side we're in. So we're going to open up that door and look football. For Rodgers, what is he doing here?
Man.
Pittsburgh, I mean, come on. You're a Steeler fan. You can't be real, Mason Rudolph's not going to help you. I'm sorry. Mason Rudolph's a backup. Good back. I'll give you a say. I'll say he's a good backup.
Yeah, I am.
But he's not the guy you want to roll, and you don't want him playing the 17 games.
No.
You can't have him as your starter. So, and you have Will Howard, now the rookie. I'm not sure exactly how, if you can get him ready to play either. You never know with rookies because they're such a wild card. Some of these guys come in surprisingly and get the game figured out quick.
Right.
They just do.
Yeah.
And surprise everybody. And you always seem to have one or two of those guys, quarterbacks, that come out of kind of the woodwork that were good quarterbacks, but they end up being really good in the NFL or pretty good in the NFL. You didn't think they were that good, going to be that good. Maybe Will Howard is the guy that maybe surprises everybody in Pittsburgh. But you're going into the season, you can't bank on that. So you're rolling in. You really have to, in order to compete in that division, because you're going to compete against, obviously, Burrow with Cincinnati, Lamar, Jackson, obviously, with Baltimore. We don't know what Cleveland's doing.
A plethora of quarterbacks.
We'll get there. We'll go back. We'll look at them. But Pittsburgh, you got to have Rodgers. Or you do the trade for Cousins.
And that's what I think is like in the hip pocket, as they say. I think that's there. And that's where they're obviously going to wait. And then when it gets too tight, and if Atlanta is willing to do something, I think they will take Cousins.
Now, the word is Rodgers isn't signing because he doesn't want to do all the OTAs. He doesn't want to do all this, he doesn't want to, it's because, he didn't go with the Jets. He caught all kinds of crap. He didn't go to the OTA, I think, with the Jets, and everybody was asking the questions, and, he wanted off in his own thing. So now he's figuring, I'm not going to sign until I'm ready to come in and play. Right. So I'm ready to, to report and do it. But I'm not going to sign when I don't want to show up and do all the, all the crap.
Right.
And probably what he's thinking. Because then I got the media, which he loves, by the way.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to deal with that. So he's figuring, I'm just going to sit out and wait. And when I'm ready to come in and play and report and practice, then I'll sign. And that's what I think a lot of Steeler fans and football people believe. Rodgers will come in and play when he's ready and when he's going to show up and participate.
Well, in my opinion, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't have to publicly put it out, but they need to put a deadline to, okay, he doesn't really want to do OTAs. Well, he's going to do some of these OTAs, and this is the date he needs to be here by.
Yeah.
And if he's not, let's see if we can facilitate a trade with Atlanta and get Cousins.
Because the way the Kirk Cousins deal is you're getting, I think the way the Kirk Cousins contract is, I think it's 20. If you have Cousins, I think the way they want to work it out is they want you to pay $25 million. And then Atlanta will pay $14 million.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
They want the team that gets Cousins can get him for we'll pay him 20. He's due $40 million. And it's like a 25-15. They'll pay 15, you pay 25 if you want him, something like that.
Yeah.
So you get Cousins for $25 million.
This is a very good
and you
rate.
Trade a second or maybe a third or fourth rounder, and you get Cousins, you pay him the 25. It's a 1-year deal pretty much.
Right.
Because you get out of it. And you have Cousins pretty much under a 1-year deal for $25 million.
And if he's playing good, you start talking about, hey, let's
then you want to extend him, maybe.
Yeah, we'll extend him another
or season. You start looking at, is Will Howard the guy to develop?
Yeah, well, I would still be developing him.
But I would develop him anyway.
Yeah, develop him if it's going the right way.
Do you keep Cousins another year or two if they win and they play good?
Right, that's what I'm saying. I keep him this season. I keep him another season. Then Will Howard, if you're ready. If Will Howard is like in between, I still keep Will Howard because he's a young guy. But when the time to draft and there's a real good potential quarterback in it, and we got that opportunity to get him, then I'm getting that guy too. He'll be competing with Will Howard for that following time.
Right.
That's what I would do because, they can't play around because Pittsburgh is a veteran football team. And you got guys there that they would like to know what's going on. You got Hayward, you got Watt. These guys need to know who we going to battle with. And like I said, all of them do like Rudolph. They do. And they do, but I know they want a established guy, starter, that they can hang their hat on. If anything goes wrong, then Rudolph can come in and do his job.
Come in.
It's like they used to have Charlie Batch.
Yep.
Something happened with Roethlisberger for 3 or 4 games. All of a sudden, Batch comes in there, plays great.
Yep. Charlie,
and then he goes back to his normal stuff, and then they keep on flowing.
Right.
That's what they need to do. And they don't have these guys for all 17 games. So, something got to happen soon. But it just seems, I guess, us as when you look at it as fans and on the outside, we get edgy, like, what in the world are they doing? But in all honesty, football time, they do got time. They still got time. You still got time, but you don't want to go away until, I think, July.
No.
In late July, and you're still hanging around talking about, are you coming? So then he comes in for 2 preseason games, and now that, guys are not going to be real happy about it.
For the record, it looks like Atlanta's looking for the team to pay $20 million, not $25 million, of the $45 million.
Now, you can't beat that.
You can't beat.
No,
so
you really can't beat
if that's accurate, this is from Adam Scheffler saying this, that Atlanta's acquiring the team to pay $20 million of the $45 million due him. So, okay, I had it wrong. I said 25-20, it's 20-25.
And I actually think in Cleveland, I actually think they said Kenny Pickett has been looking pretty decent. I actually think they want him to look decent. Because I really think they're going to trade him. They're going to trade him back out. He's never really was a part of their establishment. Flacco did take him to a playoff. You keep him around. He's a great mentor. And you keep both young quarterbacks. You keep both of them and see what you do from there. Even if they're not the starters, keep both of them.
Now, LeVar Arrington thinks that they're going to cut Shedeur. He doesn't think they're keeping both of them. And he believes, because Shedeur is a 5th rounder, Dylan Gabriel's a 3rd rounder. Mm-hmm. He says he thinks Shedeur is going to get cut.
Because he's a 5th rounder.
Because he's a 5th rounder. And they won't cut the 3rd rounder, but they will cut the 5th rounder. And he thinks that.
And then I think you cut either one of them, and all of a sudden, either one of them is a star somewhere.
See,
I just got that feeling.
I agree.
I keep both of them.
I would too.
You've been since 1999, and I don't want to put our guy back then in there because he came behind an offensive line of guys that I think we seen around the corner from here. Down in Struthers and Camel and all kind of places.
Yeah.
That was their offensive line.
Yeah, that was bad.
He got beat to death. So I don't count him. But you haven't had a quarterback since that you could say I can hang my hat on, and I got him for years. you got two young guys that are looking pretty accurate at all time. I'm keeping both of them. I'm sorry, I got to just keep both. You haven't had a quarterback. I keep saying we, and I'm not even a Browns fan, but I'm just thinking that way as a Browns fan. I'm keeping both. I need both of these guys.
Yeah, you're thinking Tim Couch was the unfortunate.
I didn't want to put Tim. I wanted to just leave Couch on the couch.
Yeah,
because that guy had offensive linemen that it was from the West Side.
Yeah,
the other offensive linemen.
Well, they were the expansion team.
Oh man, it was terrible.
And they unfortunately
remember they used to have to draft from the other teams. They got
they used to do that
expansion draft off the other roster. The guys that never played,
right? Guys that never, you got the
they got beat.
Yeah, they unfortunately because what happened is before that, when Carolina and Jacksonville Jags were expansion teams that did so well, they didn't want Cleveland to have that ability to do that. So whatever rules it was, they changed and Cleveland got
they got beat.
Yeah, that's
because remember Carolina
and Jacksonville got to the playoffs. I think in their second year in the league.
They were competitive.
They were very competitive.
Immediately, and that's what you wanted. You wanted,
and that's basically what you wanted. But
it was like a punishment to Cleveland. Yeah. They brought them back and allowed them to get their brains beat out.
So the Browns have a situation going, since we're looking at quarterbacks, we've covered obviously Pittsburgh. I think it looks like the Kirk Cousins is going to be their out.
For Pittsburgh.
For Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Because that $20 million a year is doable. They'll decide on a draft, draft choice they'll send to them. And then if they pay the $20 million of the 45, then Pittsburgh will be, at least you'll have Kirk Cousins rolling into the season. If Rodgers decides to retire or go elsewhere, like you said, I know New Orleans Saints now are in the mix. They're looking obviously for the quarterback.
And the only reason I say I put them down further, because it's hard for me to see New Orleans say, hey, we'll let Atlanta, Atlanta will allow New Orleans to get a quarterback, and they're in the same division and always been big time rivals. So that's why I see him going to Pittsburgh. I used to think he might go to Cleveland, but with all they got now, no need of that. But Pittsburgh will be the perfect place. You got Rudolph right behind him. Perfect.
Yeah, you have the setup.
Will Howard.
You got Will Howard as your third guy.
Yeah, you're set.
You're set.
And I don't know where Rodgers is at now. Is he? I like right now as a football player. I like Aaron Rodgers. I do.
Rodgers could still play.
He can still play. Just
you look at Rodgers' numbers last year. I mean, in fairness to him, he started out slow because he's still coming off the Achilles. But as the season progressed, he really is playing pretty good, like the old Rodgers. And I said this many times. I said if the Jets had a field goal kicker, they potentially are in a playoff because the field goal kicker at least cost them 3 games.
I remember the one show we did, and I thought you said it was 3 or 4 games. And when we flipped that and said that if they win, they're actually in first place. We said,
they were actually would have been at that point. And when we had him during the season, we were talking about it. And I know he missed the kick against Denver, which would have won him the game. And there were 2 other games he blew kicks that they would have won those games.
We're talking about reasonable.
And they were reasonable kicks. They weren't like, I'm not asking them to kick a 65-yarder. No, they were well within 40 yards and he missed them. And the whole point of it is if they had the field goal kicker of any consistency, the Jets probably win 3 to 4 more games.
Right.
And then all of a sudden now they're in the playoffs. And does that change the whole, how do they want Rodgers? Maybe they keep Rodgers now instead of get rid of him.
That's right.
Because maybe they would have gotten to the playoffs.
If he had gotten to the playoffs and believe me, just won 1 game in the playoffs, there's no way to get rid of him.
No, they wouldn't get rid of him. No. They would be looking to keep him and potentially build off that. But it didn't happen that way. Now, I said they cut Rodgers. It's Justin Fields. See how he can do it with the Jets, with the new coach. Okay. But the only thing with the Jets is, this is what I don't understand. When you fire your coach in the regular season, it's not a recipe for success. Yeah. Like, you don't fire your coach. What was it? 6 games into the season, they can Robert Saleh. Don't go into the season thinking I don't know if we're going to keep the coach. If you don't know, get rid of him now and bring in another coach. Yeah. Don't wait until the middle of the season, because when you look at teams that fire coaches, they don't do good.
Well, and the reason they don't do good, because now you start a season, right? And you might have half the team that might say, I don't know about Saleh. And the other half is, I love this guy. Now you get rid of him. Now you also have a divide within the team.
Right.
And you're trying to solidify that. That more than likely will not happen. And that's what type of ball they had. Uneven football. Right. Some games, they looked like they were really good. In other games, they look so terrible.
But once they fired Saleh, the season was over.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't do that.
Can't do that. And that's the owner.
Yeah.
I mean, you
got rid of everybody except himself. Because even Joe Douglas, who the GM, was a good GM,
he was glad to get out,
and he's back in Philly.
Yeah, he said he couldn't wait to get out.
Yeah.
He said when they fired him, he was like, "Thank you," like he was glad.
He
was relieved. He had enough.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah,
I mean, this is the guy that's the GM. You fire him, then you later on can him in the regular season, and he couldn't be happier.
Yeah,
he's like, glad I'm gone.
Yeah,
thank you. Fire me, pay me, I'm gone.
Yeah. They got to get that front office.
You got to get it figured out. I mean,
that is key.
Aaron Glenn, I wish him the best of luck. I think he's a good,
because I think he's a good coach.
I think he's going to be a good coach. I think his problem will be overcoming the Jets, the owner, and the goofiness that goes on there.
Yeah.
If he can potentially overcome that, I think he's a good coach. He can coach the players up, but it's dealing with the noise above him and that front office and that owner.
Yeah.
And that's been the problem with the Jets.
That's been a major problem.
And I wish Aaron Glenn I think he's going to be, if he went to another team that didn't have all the noise, I think he'd be he would be really good coach.
Yeah.
I think he's got a lot to overcome with the front office. So hopefully it works out for him.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Because it is the Jets. Saturday Morning Sports Page, back after a quick timeout. Western Reserve Radio.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football, or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Ohio. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
look at my Miami, Florida stinking team in a minute.
Saturday Morning Sports page. We're
it.
back.
I'm over here.
Dave Clark's
I'm getting
talking
upset.
here.
I'm getting upset, man.
Dave's getting upset.
I'm going to start running around the studio in a minute.
You're getting like, you know what? You're getting like George Costanza. George is getting upset.
Yo, man, I'm getting upset.
Dave's getting upset like George on Seinfeld. Dave's getting upset.
Hurricane.
He's looking up the hurricane schedule, his Miami Hurricanes, but we're talking about
look at this crap.
Out of conference schedules. All right, Dave Clark.
Oh, do we have to look at this?
What do we have?
Maybe I shouldn't look at this right now. Let me make sure I got it right. Whoa, okay.
All right.
Oh, no, that's showing last year.
Okay.
That's showing here. Let me keep looking.
All right. As you look, I'll give you the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, okay.
Old Dominion.
Oh, terrible.
Kennesaw State.
Come on, give me a break.
Indiana State. That's the Hurrying Hoosiers of Indiana playing football. They got three teams that I would laugh and say, did they tell Poland High School and Howland High School, we'll get you next year, guys, on the schedule. Ohio State, all right, they open up big game, Texas at Ohio State. That's the game. After that, it's Grambling at Ohio State and OU at Ohio State. You got one game there that's, okay, Texas is legit, but Grambling State and Ohio are not, come on, guys.
Right.
But after that, then they have a week off, and then they have Washington at Washington. They have Minnesota at home, and they travel on the road to Illinois. So we'll see what
goes on with that.
Then they go to the Big Ten.
Okay.
But the out of conference is not anything to write home about.
Yeah, see, it's first time. I can't even argue this. Usually I don't like their schedule, but they start off, Miami Hurricanes start off with Notre Dame.
All right, there you go.
Second game, I can't really say nothing is bad. They play Boston College.
That's good. That's legit. No, that's good.
Their third game.
Well, that's Boston College is a league.
Yeah.
They're in the ACC.
League.
That's ACC.
So they're there.
All right.
Next one is against USF.
Florida.
They play South Florida. That's a team they usually play, but okay, that's one.
No, that's all right.
And then after that is Florida, Florida State, Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt.
Well, that's
this is the first time that I can think of in years that I can sit here and say, because normally they play UCF, they play not Miami, but the who am I thinking of? And you know them. It's a team. They're terrible. They play them all the time. Not UCF. What's the other one in Florida?
Well, there's Central Florida and there's Florida International.
They play Florida International,
right? Florida International.
Play them, and they'll play UCF, and then they'll play Rattlers of Florida A&M.
Yeah, Florida. Florida A&M.
That's usually their top three all the time.
Yeah.
And I get sick and tired of, but they don't have them on the schedule. I cannot. This is a real schedule.
No, it's actually, that one's a legitimate schedule.
UCF, not UCF, but South Florida is their only really and I don't even really say, can you call them
Florida? No. Florida's an SEC school, right?
Yeah.
No. That's good. That's a legitimate out of conference schedule.
If they come with a good record next year, they got to be highly ranked to get in that playoff situation.
Yeah, no, I think that basically,
I'm sorry, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
let's look up some others. Let me look up some Michigan Wolverines.
Oh no,
schedule.
We're doing that now.
I can't help it. I'm going crazy after hearing this stuff, man.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that the problem we've always talked about on this show is the out-of-conference schedule for these teams.
Mm-hmm.
No, they play Miami, Florida plays Bethune-Cookman September 6th.
Do they get that now?
Yeah, I got it back up. It looks like they play the Irish, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Then they play Bethune-Cookman.
Instead of the second game?
Yeah.
You must have.
And then they've got South Florida
after that.
And then they play the Florida Gators, who's SEC, and then they hit. Oh, you were thinking it was Boston College. It's Bethune-Cookman.
And I wonder why
you saw the BC. Yeah,
yeah, and that's what. But it was Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, it's Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, they shouldn't have.
Well, but you need one of
only
those
one.
games. You only got one. Right.
You only got one
That's
though.
it. You only get one. That's fine. And then after that, they're out of conference. Actually, when you break it down, they've got Notre Dame, you've got South Florida, and then you've got Florida State is their rival. They always play them. And I think Florida State now is in the ACC. So Florida Gators is the team they're playing. That's the SEC school. Yeah. So that's okay. And then South Florida, that's fine. But the only game in there that you always recall is the Bethune-Cookman game, and that's
and I don't mind the one.
No, that's fine.
Why I said for Ohio State, I'd rather them get rid of Grambling and play OU. But if you want to keep Grambling, keep it.
But then play like a Vanderbilt or play a lower team out of the SEC.
I like that. Vanderbilt is always you just don't know what they might bring. A Tulane is another team that has a decent team. You just don't know what they're going to bring. Yeah, let them go ahead and whoop those teams down.
Right.
And it makes them even better when the time comes.
Yeah.
This other nonsense, like Michigan starts out with New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico, Oklahoma's legit, and Central Michigan. Let's get.
Is that how it is? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. And it's how.
Yeah, they have the New Mexico Lobos, and then they have the.
So that's kind of okay, I guess, too.
It's all right. They have their second game is at Oklahoma.
Yeah, so. And
then they have Central Michigan home, and then they start the Big Ten.
And then after that, they're basically a lot legit. Well, it's getting better. I just want to see it get better to the days of. I remember when I was younger. I mean. Those games were never like that.
No, I remember Ohio State's schedule. Like I've said this many times on this show. We'll get Irish Mike here. 1975. Now it's been 50 years, which scares the hell out of me. But 50 years, I remember going my first Ohio State. They played the out of conference was North Carolina, Penn State, and UCLA. That was their out of conference.
And do you remember some of the players back there?
Yeah.
So do you remember, it should be that year, 75.
Yeah.
A running back by North Carolina, was that Sonny Collins?
Oh,
was he playing then?
I have to look him up. No, I think he was after. I know Sonny Collins. I got to look him up. Yeah, let's get Irish Mike here.
That's unbelievable.
Hey, Irish Mike, what's going on?
You guys are lucky I never criticized college football scheduling. You're lucky I never do that.
I know you never do.
I
couldn't believe it. I was getting upset about anybody. I don't care who they are. I wanted to see what they was. But some of maybe it's getting a little better. Hopefully,
you might have. Yeah.
Not that Indiana schedule, but but some of these others are getting better.
Yeah. I mean, they moved that playoff 5 years ago. I remember going back and forth with Pat on Dave on some text messages, and he was happy to see that simply because the expansion of playoffs he thought would create better in-season matchups. Instead of, people scheduling wins, they would actually say, hey, we could still lose a couple of games and make the playoffs. We're okay that we don't have to schedule, Middle Tennessee State and Central Arkansas Tech and all those other schools. And so just making sure we're scheduling wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think Indiana people look at it and they say, yeah, they made the playoffs last year. It was a great run. They had a great season and, finished second in the Big Ten in the regular season. But they've been down for so long over the last 40 or 50 years that they're okay with this. Indiana people are completely okay with that non-conference schedule. Trust me, they're completely okay with it.
Yeah, I know. We pulled that thing is brutal. You sent that to me.
It's terrible.
Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State out of conference, man.
Yeah.
What did they?
But knowing, Pat, if they go 11-1, that they'll still get in. I mean, there's not going to be. They know there's no penalty for it because at the end of the day, some people look and say, did you win or did you lose?
That's all it does.
Yeah.
I know. Because did Howland High School said they can't make the trip to Indiana? Because I don't think Poland wanted to go either. Because they probably called Howland and then Poland and say, hey, can you guys come over? We'll play you. We can't. We don't know if we want to play Indiana State, but we'll take Howland or Poland High School and play them because that's basically what you got here.
Yeah. And I just think we're seeing sports guys that, I know sometimes people get turned off by sports simply because, I want to thank the Minnesota Timberwolves organization for showing up to Oklahoma City on Wednesday night to play Game 5. They really looked like they wanted to be there.
Yeah, I know.
They really gave a maximum effort. Kind of like the Miami Heat did in Game 4 against the Cavs.
Right. It's like mailing it, saying they mailed it in is like an understatement.
The mail-in game.
Yeah, the mail-in. They didn't even mail it in. They were worse than mailing it in. That's the part that I just can't understand. I had that game on thinking, all right, see if Minnesota can play themselves into this series. And it was like, they quit. They were thinking, they were probably thinking, where are we playing golf tomorrow? Because we definitely want to get to the golf course early. So let's get this game over with because we obviously don't want to be here to play. And I don't know if that's a coaching issue, a player issue. Right. But to go out and just not show up and be eliminated in 5 games, but you didn't even compete in 3 of the 5 games, they weren't even good games. In fact, 4 of the 5 games were kind of lousy games, but they only had 1 competitive game. But to show up for your elimination game 5, and then just not even care, like 26-9 after 1 quarter, everybody probably switched over and watched reruns of whatever was on your show.
It got worse in the second quarter.
Yeah. And it got worse. That game just got progressively, and by halftime, it was over.
Yep.
Correct. I mean, it was over early.
And why you guys
But that's where people get frustrated in sports. They pay good money. Now, the Oklahoma City fans are I've argued with my friends for years about NBA regular season. I gave up on the regular season 15 years ago after the Cavs had back-to-back best record in the NBA. LeBron's last 2 years.
Yep.
When 08, 09, 9, 10, when we brought in every veteran in the league to help them win, including Shaquille O'Neal and Antoine Jameson, you name the guys, veterans on their last leg. And the Cavs, if you remember, guys, in those seasons had the best record in the NBA, regular season, back-to-back years, and had home court advantage all the way through the playoffs. Only get knocked out in the Eastern Conference Final by Orlando in 09, then the Boston Celtics in 2010. And LeBron left to go to the Miami Heat.
Yep.
And that's when I said, what am I doing here? These regular season games in November, December, people get excited about. Like, my buddy happened to be up there that day on Sunday afternoon, about 8 to 10 hours after the Dallas Mavericks announced they traded Luka Doncic to the LA Lakers for Anthony Davis. And the Cavs scored 91 points in the first half. Think about that, guys. The Mavs weren't even trying.
Yeah.
You paid good money to go. Now, you're happy the Cavs won. I get it. My buddy always says, it's all about the Cavs winning. I don't care how many they win by. I don't care about the other team. The only thing I care about is the Cavs winning, point blank in the story. And they said, that's nice. But I also like to be entertained.
Right.
If I'm paying good money, I want to be entertained.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not watch professional athletes not give an effort.
Yeah. That's terrible. When you see that is terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
It's bad for
we're seeing that in the NBA playoffs now, guys, not just the regular season games.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing you could probably say, at least with the Knicks and the Pacers,
I haven't seen that.
Nobody's mailing it in. They play hard.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they've been even the game 5 that the Knicks won. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm watching a game. I never felt like, the Knicks have this game. Because after you watch game 1, the Knicks blow that game. You can't be watching game 5 thinking, they got this in the bag. No, I only knew they won the game when Rick Carlisle, the Indiana coach, pulled out the starters and waved the white flag. And in the last 2 minutes decided we're down too much. We're done here. He didn't do that in game 1. Right. And I'm watching that game and I'm thinking, I'm waiting for Indiana to make a move and get this thing close.
Right.
And they never did, but that was in the back of my mind. So I never felt like that game was over. Like I never, the Knicks got this in the bag. No. Being a Knicks fan all the years, the Knicks historically, when you watch them play, they keep everybody in the game usually. They may get blown out and they may blow out a team now and then, but they usually play everybody real close to the vest and they're all tight games. And you look at their history.
Yeah. And that's just how they play.
And that's just hard. The way they are. They play hard.
Gritty team.
They're a gritty team. They don't have the ability usually to blow anybody out. They can get kind of blown out. But now, way Indiana, this series is going, this has been a knuckle fight kind of grind series. And it's going to, I think, even tonight, if the Knicks lose, I don't think they get blown out. Indiana will probably win game 6 tonight. I'm rooting for the Knicks to win and force the game 7. But I don't think they can beat Indiana. Even if they win tonight, they would have to win game 7 and win 3 in a row. I just don't think they could beat Indiana 3 in a row.
Yeah.
But you never know. But I think the Knicks will keep it. It'll be a close game.
Yeah. I just think it'll be.
I can say Pat LeChue is rooting for the New York Knicks. All the executives in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. The TV people are, you have Indiana, small market against Oklahoma City, one of the smallest markets in the NBA.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and that's the other problem.
Money-wise, they definitely want that.
No, they want the Knicks in because at least you're going to get your East Coast New York metro area viewers in.
Oh, yeah.
And you might probably get some other Knick fans sprinkled across the country watching. Yeah. But, yeah, if you get Indiana Pacers, a small market, OK City, a small market, that's what the NBA is worried about is the ratings could not be very well, even though that might be a very good series to watch. But I think OK City will win. It may be a good series to watch, but you just don't have the
all they worrying about is the cachet.
The cachet. Right. The cachet.
The other thing they're worried about, Pat LeChue, you look at the Oklahoma City's roster, it's a relatively young roster with talented players.
Yep. Yeah,
because they were bad for 3 or 4 years and made all those trades and got all that draft capital. Yep. And they still have a lot of draft capital in the next 3 or 4 years moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could be good for years.
Yeah. They could win, staying healthy and everything being they could win 3 or 4 titles in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, right? Easy.
Because of the fact that they have all that draft capital still and all the trades they made back in 2017, 18, 19 when they were really, really bad.
Yep. Absolutely.
You see, if you look at it, they built the team the right way. They didn't go. They didn't go with we need 3 superstars. No, they really built that team with drafts. A good trade for Shea Gillis from the Clippers.
Right, which I don't know what in the heck.
I don't know
when
what
it
the
happened,
Clippers
I was
were
saying,
thinking.
why are you giving this guy?
Why would they give him up?
And he wasn't even at the level he was at, but you could just see.
But he was a good, young, developing player. What are you doing? And you gave up the MVP. And, now Oklahoma City has got a good core.
Yep.
And they've got the young team, but that's how you build. You got to give their GM all the credit in the world.
Yeah, he does a great job.
Because he's done an absolutely unbelievable job in putting that team together.
In the NBA, you said for years, Pat LeChue, you either want to be really, really good or really, really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, in a way, when you look at the way Indiana, Sam Presti is the Oklahoma City GM. I wanted to look him up. But he's done an unbelievable, great job in building that team. He's in his 18th season as the Thunder GM. He's been there 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he went through Durant. He went through Harden. He got all that criticism. Remember when they traded Harden away?
Right.
And he got all kinds of crap. And it just, they had a solid team then. He got to the finals, but lost to LeBron in Miami.
Right.
And that was LeBron's first NBA title. It was when they beat OK City and Durant.
Mm-hmm.
So bottom line, was that like 2012?
Yeah,
they won. Yeah, they won 2012. They beat OK City. So when you break it down, this GM rebuilt the team up.
Yeah.
With drafts, with trades, a younger team. But you're right, Irish Mike. This potentially could be the team that could be multiple NBA titles.
Yeah. Because they may lose some of those guys, but then they got so much capital and they'll be able to replace.
Danny Ainge did that with the Celtics.
Right.
Back in the day. Remember, he traded Kevin Garnett away and he traded Paul Pierce, the Brooklyn Nets, and got all those first-round draft picks. And they were bad for a couple years. Now he's doing the same thing in Utah. Let's be honest. He's doing the exact same thing in Utah. And he said, unfortunately, it takes 4 or 5 years. It's not going to be 2 or 3. But he says that openly.
Okay. Let's look at OK City's roster. and their salary. Right now, when you look at them, they are actually, this is what's unbelievable. They're the 25th in salary for NBA. That's how low they are.
Right.
I mean, Phoenix is number one. They're paying $220 million. They didn't even get into the playoffs. OK City is they're paying $167 million this year. That puts them 25th. But the point, when you break down their team, he's got a core together that they're not going anywhere. Like, he's got through next year, they've got everybody signed up through next year. This team is coming back as if next year.
Correct.
So they have everybody coming back next year. Nobody, in essence, of the roster is leaving. So everybody's pretty much, there's a couple players here that leave, but they're lower players.
They'll leave because of the drafts that they get.
They have Gillis, Hartenstein, Dort, Isaiah Joe, Chet Holmgren, Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso. They're signed up.
Yeah. They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
They're just going to add their draft picks.
Right.
And they may get a veteran somewhere that'll always help out, and that's it.
His roster,
barring injury, they'll be in great shape. Barring a major injury,
as long as the injury god, they don't get cursed with somebody getting hurt. But you've got the core there, and you have to look at this team and say they should win a title if they win it this year, which you got to figure they will.
Yeah,
they're going to win it this year and probably next year.
I mean,
because you've got everybody coming back.
Yeah, I mean they're loaded.
Then he just has to make a decision the following year on what he's going to do with some of the players, because they've got but he's got team options for Hartenstein and Dolt. But then he's got other players here. Alex Caruso, he's signed up for 5 more years. Like, he's got a guy that was good. And then they're going to have to obviously, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's 2 more years.
Before you even get paid.
He's got $35 million this year, $38 million following year, $40 million, 26, 27. Then he's a free agent. So he's got 2 more years after this one on the books, money.
Correct.
Then they can decide what to do with him. But again, he's got a team option for Isaiah Hartenstein for $28.5 million the following year after next. So he's got these guys where the team could say, we're going to exercise the team option and keep you.
Right. Yeah.
So he's got options for the team, not the player.
Mm-hmm.
So that Sam Presti's got this thing like really figured out.
Yeah, because he gets to make that decision whether I keep them with the team.
Right. He has the option to keep these guys another year, or
bring in a new piece.
Or if they decide team option, we don't want to pay Isaiah Hartenstein $28.5 next 2 years from now, and Dolt, same deal, then they let him go. Or they can keep him and say, no, we're going to keep you.
Yeah. And let's say it's a couple years from now, the center down in Houston, all of a sudden, he's up for his contract because he's a young guy. I can't think of his name right now. But he's what they call him? Baby Jokic.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he becomes available. He goes and get him and bring him to
and he brings him in.
And that's just insane.
But they can afford him. They've got this team structured.
Perfectly.
Perfectly.
Yeah. So he'll be able to afford a guy like that anyway.
Plus, Pat, the big thing is they also, moving forward, 26, 27, 20, they still have a lot of first-round draft picks. Not only their own, but other teams where they can maneuver and say, we like this better, and we'll give you 3 number 1s for him.
Right.
Yep.
And that's the other thing.
And then that keeps him going down the future still, because he got all these number 1s.
Yeah, he does
it the right way. People better start copying it. Everything else is a copy league. You better start copying when people are doing things a certain way. I mean, you may not do it exactly, but you better take some knowledge from some of the things they do.
Yeah, because he's got that Chet Holmgren, who's really, really developed into a great player. He's still under the rookie deal.
You're right.
So he's $13 million next year. Then $17 million is the qualifying offer. So they'll probably extend him.
Right.
And they'll keep him.
Yep.
But then you look at Alex Caruso and Aaron Wiggins, he's got them under contract he's got Caruso through 28-29, and Aaron Wiggins is under from 27-28. Then the team option is the following year at 7.9. That's the other thing, is contract money. He's paying these guys. He's getting them at a good deal.
Yep. And I like how their concept as a team, because I just watch it just when they do their interviews. It's never just there's Shea, there's whoever. Nope, he brings the entire team to the interview.
Right.
And, and they all there.
They all participate.
And they all participate. I like that. And that keeps the core together. They're bond together, and that's why they play so well together also.
And I'm not 100% sure, Dave, he said so. The Cavs general manager said he wants to keep the roster intact for the 25-26 season, but because they're financially strapped compared to Oklahoma City with all the veterans making all that money. They're like one of those second-tier teams where right now, unless they make a lot of other minor, they can't make big moves because they're paying so much over the cap right now.
Yeah, right now, basically Cleveland's, when you look at the way Cleveland's got this structured, those guys, they're not going anywhere. 2 years. Garland's there for 3 more years after this one. Donovan Mitchell does have an opt-out, but that's after 2 years. So Donovan Mitchell's there for 2 more years. DeAndre Hunter's 2 more years. Jared Allen's there for 4 more years. And even Max Strus is there 2 more years. And Mobley's there for 4 more years. No, the Cavaliers roster is set.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going anywhere here. The only thing they could do is probably play around with some of the bench guys, but their roster is set in stone.
I mean, you play around with some of that and hope you hit on somebody that just comes along.
Maybe you get a break or you make a trade, but Cavs are where they are for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Irish Mike, for calling.
Okay, guys, have a great weekend, Dave. And Pat,
all right, take care.
Saturday Morning Sports Page. Thanks again, Dave Clark. I'm Pat Lucia, Saturday Morning Sports Page on Sports Radio, Western Reserve Radio.
All over there.
Stay safe.
We're there.
Do not drink and do not drive.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
For VSiN, the sports betting network. In WNBA news, Caitlin Clark will miss 2 weeks with a quad strain. She previously had never missed a game at Iowa or with the Indiana Fever. The reigning Rookie of the Year is averaging 19 points, 6 rebounds, and almost 10 assists per game, going over her PRA line 3 of 4 times this season. For WNBA betting tips, head to VSiN.com. Lock in 14 months of VSiN Pro for just $199. Use the promo code PRO. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hour number 2 of the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. Happy Saturday to all. I'm Tim Murray, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, our guy, Matt Grissom, who's been handing out candy, giving us plus money winners these past couple of shows, Saturday and Sunday. As I like to say, well done, do it again. Kidding, but sort of not kidding. So we will see what Matt Grissom's got in store. Yesterday was pretty wacky when it came to college baseball. We talked about it in the opening segment, I should say, but we saw 4 of the top 16 seeds get knocked off. Not eliminated, because it is double elimination and in the regionals, but Oregon State, Ole Miss, Oregon, and Southern Miss all hosting regionals lost. And late last night, it was Oregon getting knocked off by Utah Valley with a little bit of controversy, I might say there. And, as someone who has a Oregon to win the Eugene Regional at minus $155, was not super thrilled by what we saw last night. But we'll dive into that and what to expect today as we will have Matt Grissom come on in less than 15 minutes. John Buccigross from ESPN will get us ready for the Stanley Cup, the rematch of the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. He'll join us at the bottom of the hour. Of course, the Stanley Cup final not starting until Wednesday night, north of the border. Oilers right now around a minus 115 series favorite. That's going to bounce back and forth. I feel like ultimately it's going to end, at least at some shops, as a true pick'em before that thing drops the puck on Wednesday night. But we'll get John Buccigross's thoughts coming up bottom of the hour. So a lot to get to regarding Knicks and Pacers. Of course, we'll get some best bets. Hour 3, we'll talk to our resident Indiana native, Wes Reynolds, and JVT in hour 3 as well. But a couple of things I wanted to point out here. And Ross Dellinger just tweeted this out. Doesn't really have much to do with gambling now, but as a college football fan, which I am, and many of you, I would imagine, are, we have heard we've heard a lot from Destin, Florida this week down at SEC Media Days, or not Media Days, SEC, whatever they're doing, talking to the media folks. It isn't Media Days. That'll be later on. But we continue to be curious what the college football playoff will look like come 2026. What we know this year is that there are no guaranteed bids in the sense that are seeding, I should say, where Boise State got the 3 last year, Arizona State got the 4, right? That's removed. So we know that for 2025, still 12 teams. It seems inevitable we're going to 16 in 2026. But the question is, are we going to get the 4-4-2-2-1, which is 4 bids for the SEC, 4 bids for the Big Ten, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC, 1 for the G5, and then 3 at-larges? Or would we get 5 auto bids and 11 at-larges? This from Ross Dellinger earlier this morning. More info being socialized with other conferences about the discussions Thursday from SEC ADs and presidents. The league meaning SEC, is indicating that it is, quote, not supporting a multi-AQ format, preferring instead more at-large bids plus a selection committee criteria change. I think that's good news. I want it to be 12, I'll be honest. I want it to stay at 12, but we're not going to get that. Please don't go to this 4-4-2-2-1 thing. It would be wildly detrimental, in my opinion, to the best regular season sport in all of sports, the college football regular season. Now, the issue is the Big Ten plays 9 conference games. The SEC plays 8. The Big Ten saying, it's not fair. We have to play 9. You have to play 8. And we want the auto bids. We'll see how this all plays out. The 2 heavy hitters, Big Ten and the SEC, I think they'll figure it out. Hopefully they come to a normal decision, and it is not 4 and 4 auto bids, and then you have some stupid play-in tournament thing on championship weekend. But I mentioned it at the end of last hour. It's what they call a tease. I got a Christmas present last night. And no, not a real Christmas present. But Matt Grill, trading manager from DraftKings Sportsbook, who is a frequent guest on VSiN, comes on VSiN Primetime every Tuesday night, and was on the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast a week ago. We were diving into the win totals and the Week 0 and Week 1 lines. And then he let us know, me and Matt last night, they put out Game of the Year lines. So we're 84 days away, ladies and gentlemen, from the start of the college football season. Week 0 will bring us 4 games. And then Week 1, Labor Day weekend, games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we are getting closer and closer. And now we've got some Game of the Year lines. So I wanted to just run through these early thoughts, and let's dive right in. Prime time down in Norman, September 6th. Oklahoma and Michigan. What a fascinating game, Week 2. Brent Venables is feeling the pressure. Went out, got Ben Arbuckle, the offensive coordinator from Washington State, but more notably got Washington State's quarterback, John Mateer. Look at this QB potential matchup. Because is it going to be Bryce Underwood, the 5-star superstar quarterback for Michigan, or is it going to be Mikey Keene? Primetime Michigan catching points at Oklahoma, so maybe some bullishness on Boomer Sooner, as they're a slight favorite at home. Think about where we were last year. They were a 14-point dog at home. Granted, they won the game against Alabama in November. We got Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas A&M, Notre Dame in week 3. Notre Dame, Texas A&M will be under the lights. And I was texting with some folks who cover the Irish, and they said, boy, that is a hefty number. Texas A&M catching a full touchdown at Notre Dame. How about Alabama, Georgia? Crimson Tide at Georgia, week 4. Georgia in week 3 will play Tennessee. And then week 5, I beg your pardon, will play Alabama. Alabama, and we'll hear more about this later on in the hour. I think Alabama might be a buy low candidate this year. Their non-con initially looked pretty daunting. Now, right? Open up at Florida State, play Wisconsin at home. You're a double-digit favorite in both of those games. Quarterback, big question. It's also a big question for Georgia. How about Oregon and Penn State? Oregon, undefeated a year ago. This will be a whiteout. Penn State fans were crying last year that the Ohio State game wasn't a whiteout. And look, as someone who has been to a whiteout, it is the real deal. That is, I won't say the best atmosphere in college football because I have not been to Baton Rouge in prime time. I have not been to Georgia in prime time. But it is, I would say, at least a top 5 atmosphere. The whiteout in Happy Valley. Oregon catching 3.5. Wow. All right. On to October. More game of the year lines from DraftKings. Texas laying 7.5 on the road at Florida. I think that is a big old number. And Florida, look, if you know me and you know Matt Humans, and we do the podcast every Thursday during the college football season, we love us some home dogs. Florida is a team, schedule's brutal, arguably the toughest schedule in all of college football again. Can DJ Lagway take the next step and become a star in the sport? I think he can. I think this Florida roster is going to be pretty good. And I would say Texas laying north of a touchdown is pretty appealing to take the points with Florida there on October 4th in Gainesville. And also worth noting, right? It's the week before Red River. I might be talking myself into a game of the year bet right now. Florida catching 7.5 the week before Red River. Oklahoma catching 11.5 against Texas at the Cotton Bowl. Other games of note in the month of October. Another home dog situation. South Carolina, a team that, are they getting too much hype? They were red hot at the end of the season a year ago, beat Clemson to wrap up the regular season, did lose their bowl game, catching 7.5 against Alabama. Also worth noting, you know me, I like my letdown spots. What happens every third week in October? Alabama plays Tennessee. So Alabama, Tennessee, October 18th. Alabama's a 12.5-point favorite. Then they go to South Carolina. 2 home dogs that intrigue me in the month of October with these game of the year lines at DraftKings. Florida catching 7.5 week before Red River. South Carolina catching 7.5 week after the third Saturday in October. On to November, the rematch of Penn State, Ohio State, which came down to a situation where Andy Koltnicki, who had Tyler Warren wearing number 44, don't worry about it. We're not going to give him the ball 4 straight times on the goal line. Penn State catching 4.5 up at the shoe. LSU catching a full touchdown at Alabama. Tell you what, though, you look at these numbers. DraftKings pretty bullish on the old Crimson Tide here, huh? Texas at Georgia. My goodness, that is a juggernaut matchup. We saw it last year down in Austin, and Georgia took care of business. And then Ohio State, Michigan. Ohio State's done it. Michigan's done it 3 straight years. Michigan catching 5.5 at home. I thought there was no way Ohio State would lose last year to Michigan at home as a double-digit favorite. They did. And then the whole planting the flag thing and unfolded. But Ohio State turned around and, won the national championship. So they were pretty thrilled about that. They're all bettable right now, folks, over at DraftKings. It was Christmas in May for your boy yesterday as I took a look at those. All right, let's let you know a little bit about the NBA playoffs heating up. As you know, or here we are in the Eastern Conference Finals. Our partner ProfitX is offering the best odds all playoffs long. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states. Download ProfitX today and use the code VSIN, VSIN, to earn $200 in profit cash over your first month. College baseball talk. We'll do it next.
There's nothing like the rush of a winning bet. But let's be real, winning consistently, that's tough. That's why Jeff from Wonder Dog Sports Picks is stepping in to help. He's been one of the most trusted names in the game for over 25 years, helping more than 40,000 bettors find an edge every single day. And his track record, always public, always transparent. Now, Jeff wants to give you a shot at winning on the house. Visit PicksRadio.com today to receive your free $50 credit. Get back to the thrill of winning. Visit PicksRadio.com.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2025 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 7/20/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Progressive knows you've got enough to worry about in life.
Hi, it's your life again. Feel like another year is just slipping away. Yeah, remember all those New Year's resolutions you made? You still haven't finished the first book. Just 19 more to go. I mean, if we're being honest, it wasn't a very realistic goal. Have you ever considered that you intentionally self-sabotage? So what's that about?
So, in the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and you're listening to the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio.
Preview the NBA Finals, or is it a Game 7? We'll find out with Pacers and Knicks. Jonathan Davis on the Stanley Cup Final gets underway Wednesday, Edmonton in Florida. Off day for the WNBA, but 3 games coming up Tuesday in the Commissioner's Cup. Mets, Dodgers, and a good MLB card. Follow the money, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN. The Sports Betting Network, now Sirius XM Channel 158. Check out the website for all the betting tools and analysis, or get the VSiN Watch app.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday, of course. Tonight, Knicks and Pacers Game 6. More on that later on in the program. Jonathan Von Tobel, Wes Reynolds, hour number 3. We'll get you best bets for that game as well. John Buchagras from ESPN joins us bottom of the hour as we get an early preview of the Stanley Cup Final as the Edmonton Oilers and Florida Panthers rekindle their rivalry, if you want to call it a rivalry, as they played last year in the Stanley Cup Final, going 7 games. Well, we opened the show discussing the wackiness we saw last night, and that's what it's kind of part of the course. We saw 4 top seeds in their regionals, 4 home teams lose as Oregon, Oregon State, Southern Miss, and Ole Miss. So kind of funny how it all played out as the state of Mississippi and the state of Oregon had 2 regionals yesterday, and both the top seeds lost. To help us break it down and make sense of it, we bring in Matt Grissom, who's been doing awesome work with our show, every other show here on the network, and now over at vsin.com. You can follow him on social media at Grissom on X. So what do we make of the 4 teams that won. Let's start with the teams that won. St. Mary's, Utah Valley, Murray State, and Columbia. Now they're big dogs again here, Matt. Was it a flash in the pan? Do we look to, lay big numbers? Do we look to lay spreads against those teams? Or do any of those four in your eyes have some sustainability and maybe could pull a little bit of another rabbit out of their hat today?
So a mutual friend of ours, Colin Wilson, who's also an Arkansas guy, tweeted out that in games where it's a 2 versus 4, the 2 seed is 43-10. So I think we're safe to say that it's more on the fluky side that the 4 seeds won yesterday. But I think it was more impressive of how they won. I mean, you had some very dominating performances. And I guess you could call it that the 1 seeds were getting really comfortable by not throwing their ace. We saw several teams do it. North Carolina did it with Jake Knapp. And then you get all of these second, third, maybe even midweek starters throwing for these other teams. And, JB Bennington's now going to go for Southern Miss today. Out of the losers bracket, you've got Kyson Witherspoon, one that it did pay off to throw off. He's going to go today. Harrison Bodendorf, best pitcher on Oklahoma State staff. He's coming from the losers bracket. So it's the landscape of it. It really just does not make sense because it's so critical in this to go 1-0 and go from the winners bracket, or else you're going to have to burn forearms trying to come up from the losers bracket.
So let's look at Oregon real quickly. We had the controversial call at the end in the 8th inning. I thought it was terrible, but regardless, Utah Valley gets the win. Maybe a bit fortunate there. Oregon right now, if you're looking at just a straight money line against Cal Poly, is minus 260. If you're looking at a spread, minus 2.5 runs is juiced minus 130. Do you see the best from Oregon? Because I know this is a Ducks team that you and many others that follow the sport expected them to win this regional. So they get stunned yesterday as around like a minus $8 favorite. Do they bounce back this afternoon in the losers bracket against Cal Poly?
Yeah, I think they do. I think you could lay the 2.5. You don't lose like that if you're Oregon. And it was a bad call. I mean, the rule states that the catcher has to have the ball if he's going to block the plate for the slide. And he didn't have the ball. It sailed right over his head. I'm not sure why it was called that way. It ended up changing the whole course of Oregon's postseason path now. Because like I said earlier, if you win today, now you have to win 2 more. More than likely to get out of your own regional. But Cal Poly, they've had a great season, 82nd in strength of schedule. But now you get Grayson Grensel and Oregon's ace. So if you can't win with your ace and you're a regional host, sorry, you probably didn't deserve to sit at the table anyways. But I've got to believe that the Ducks figure it out. This team is too good. The team's too talented. They had multiple times last night to take the lead and couldn't do it against Utah Valley, who's literally the coach. I don't know if you watched the post game. He seems like just a dad that's volunteering to coach like a youth league sport that they just grabbed from like a target.
Too. He's got
hey, do you know baseball? Can you come coach? He was like, "Whoa, that was fun." It's just, but that's what you get in the sport, man. When you're having fun and the players are playing loose, it changes the dynamic. And you could tell as the innings go on where these 1 seeds have their back against the wall and the 4s are out there just having fun like it's little league. That's what it comes down to. You put the pressure on the 1s and now you're in their head. And ultimately that's what happened last night in all the late games. I felt like was the underdog was ruling.
Yeah, the pressure, no doubt, was setting in there. I watched with very close attention because I did bet Oregon to win that regional. So now it's going to be a bit of a challenge for the Ducks to get out of it. So you said lay the 2.5 there with Oregon. Let's get to some games. Just run through as many as possible. Our guy Jensen Lewis will be on the call of Duke and Georgia. This is the Athens regional. Right now, DraftKings has Georgia as around a minus 188 favorite, Duke plus 145. Still waiting on some other shops to pop here, but the Blue Devils look pretty darn impressive yesterday. Can they knock off the 1 seed in the Athens region?
I think they can. This offense, like I said, they're number 3 in the country. They're the best Power 4 offense in the country in weighted runs created. They're hitting 59% above average. We saw them flex that offense yesterday. Georgia's pitching staff is not that good. You look at their team ERA, they're 111th. 74th. They're 48th in WHIP. Their advanced metrics look a little bit better, but if Brian Curley is going to go for Georgia, that's going to be their best arm. So maybe there's some pause there, but at plus 145, I think is what DraftKings has Duke right now. I think you take the offense because I'm usually a pitcher. Let's go pitcher friendly first. But from what I've seen out of Georgia's pitching staff, I just don't think they have it. I think Duke can go in there and score runs pretty easily.
Talk once again to Matt Grissom. Follow him on social media at Grissom on X. Let's get to a couple other games here today. And once again, make sure to follow him on social media. He's going to be doing hits for us all throughout the weekend. And of course, the Super Regionals will be next weekend as well. Let's go to the Chapel Hill Regional as UNC gets Oklahoma today. UNC around a minus 165 favorite against the Sooners as this one will get going later on this afternoon.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good one. Jason DeCaro was the freshman pitcher for North Carolina that stepped up last year after they lost their ace and Jake Knapp. Jake Knapp went yesterday and got the 4-0 win over the 4 seed. Not really just a super comfortable win with this offense. You kind of want to see them put up some more runs, but they get it done. Carson Witherspoon, his stat line is gross. He is throwing, let me look. Like I lost it. 197 Sierra, 329 xFIP, 268 ERA. This guy has done it in the SEC against really good competition. Oklahoma 21st in strength of schedule. I think the Sooners played this as well as they could. I like North Carolina still to win this regional, but to give them the best opportunity to win, they get Carson Witherspoon versus North Carolina's game 2 guy and Jason DeCaro. I think Oklahoma plus money is worth the shot here.
Ooh, okay. You like Oklahoma plus the money. All right. A couple other ones before we let you run. A bounce back spot. You mentioned we saw 4 1 seeds get knocked off. And I don't know if it was the most surprising. I think the most surprising, at least based off the odds, was Utah Valley beating Oregon at around plus 550 at DraftKings. But Southern Miss loses and gets smashed by the Ivy League champ Columbia. And now Southern Miss is around a minus 140 favorite at home today against Alabama. Do the Golden Eagles bounce back and do they knock off and eliminate the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, this was the first one I bet of the day. I think, J.B. Middleton's one of the best pitchers in the country. He's got a 254 Sierra. Looking at the advanced analytics lined up with the ERA, he's got a 207. He's going to go up against Zane Adams, who's got a 554 and a 394 Sierra. So as far as expectations, J.B. Middleton should be able to shove against this Alabama offense that ranks 49th in weighted runs created, 138th in average. Meanwhile, Southern Miss's offense, while it didn't come alive yesterday, this is a team who's batting 27th best in the country. They have the 11th best in weighted runs created. You're in Hattiesburg, backs against the wall. You've got to get a win, and it's a very winnable game, especially with your ace on the mound in J.B. Middleton. So I laid it minus 130 with Southern Miss.
All right, quick one before we get out of here. We got Clemson, West Virginia. I know you were on West Virginia yesterday. Are you on the Mountaineers again?
I'm not. Back off the Mountaineers. They threw Griffin Kern, their ace, ultimately got the win over Kentucky 4-3. I like Clemson. I still think that they come out of this regional. The 188 may be a little juicy to lay. I think that's what the odds are. If you want to lay the run line or find a pair to parlay them with, I don't hate that. Probably more the latter. I would say Clemson, maybe Florida State with Jamie Arnold to parlay that together.
Matt, you're the man. We'll talk to you soon. There he is. Matt Grissom breaking it down for us. John Buchagross, he joins us next.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast...
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken. And when I want to catch up with Youngstown sports, I tune in to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Streaming live and on demand. Whether you're at home or on the go, the VSiN Watch app gives you access to every show, every highlight, and every deep dive into the action. Looking for something specific? Use the search feature to find coverage on your favorite teams, matchups, and sports. Exclusively for VSiN Pro subscribers, download the VSiN Watch app today on the App Store or Google Play and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday, getting you ready, of course, for Knicks and Pacers tonight. We'll discuss that with Jonathan Von Tobel in hour number 3. He'll join us in 45 minutes. Wes Reynolds, of course, our Indiana native, will join us in hour 3 as well. But we would be remiss if we did not get you ready for the Stanley Cup Final, a highly anticipated one, and based off of the odds, should be much more competitive than the NBA Finals. If you look at it right now, Oklahoma City around a minus 750 favorite to win the title, while we've got a true coin toss between the Oilers and the Florida Panthers, and a gentleman who covers the sport as well as anyone and is a nice follow on social media. It is John Buccigross from ESPN who joins us right now. And John, we were talking a little bit off air. Edmonton was your pick to win the Stanley Cup after losing in 7 a year ago. it feels like things have kind of come to form here. The offense has played well. Connor McDavid has joked throughout the postseason, we can play pretty good defense. So let's start with Edmonton. We'll be hosting game 1 on Wednesday night. What has clicked for Edmonton here in this postseason run? Because it's hard to think, but they did start down 0-2 against the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, they just, they started to get depth scoring. They didn't have to rely on Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid to have monster postseasons, especially scoring goals. Neither are at the top of the list. And so when they, once they start getting that depth scoring, everyone's chipping in, and then that shows you that they're, a team that's a little more complete than last year. The goaltending a bit up and down, but Stuart Skinner has settled in. He seems to get better as series goes along, and now he seems to be, in a good position. Also, defensive-wise, they added a couple key pieces during the season. John Klingberg and Jake Wallman, they're really good offensive-minded defensemen that can really keep that engine chugging and not just, again, rely on McDavid and Draisaitl to bring the puck up the ice to make plays. So they're just a little more complete team from the back end up. Over the summer, they lost Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway, and they kind of messed up the whole offer sheet thing because they weren't prepared to match those contracts. I didn't think it would hurt them too much this year. It'll hurt them long term because those are two really good young players, and Edmonton has nothing in the system, so they're probably going to fall off a cliff eventually. But I figured they could survive that, and they did. Evander Kane misses the season, but they come back. And they get Trent Frederick, who hasn't looked great, but he is a little bit of a depth piece. And like I said, Klingberg and Wallman have shored up the back end. And so here they are in a good position.
Talking to John Buccigross from ESPN. Stanley Cup final starts on Wednesday night. And then you've got the defending champs. And, for a team like the Florida Panthers, who, did go the distance against the Maple Leafs. And since that 2-0 loss against the Maple Leafs, it has been really impressive to see this Florida Panthers team just turn it on every which possible way. Great goaltending, elite offense. But, John, you hear it a lot, man, how much does this team have in the tank? This will be the third consecutive Stanley Cup final that the Panthers are in. Of course, won it last year, 2 years ago, lost to the Vegas Golden Knights in 5. What is it about this Panthers team, and how do they keep it so sustainable over these years? And here they are yet again for the Stanley Cup.
Well, so, the team that went to the final, their core is still all there. When they lost to Vegas that first year, they're all young. They're still all under 30. So they're right in the prime of their life. Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, Barkov. That's like the core of the team. Sergei Bobrovsky has aged very well as a goaltender. He's playing maybe his best hockey as he's gone on in his career. His initial contract at $10.5 million a year, people looked at that as just an anchor that the team could never overcome. Certainly wasn't playing to that number initially, but now he is. And so now he's earning that. One more year left on that. And that salary will come down. They'll be able to maybe keep a couple of guys. They're still hoping to keep Ekblad and Bennett. They're 2 UFAs this summer. We'll see what happens there. But, obviously Sam Bennett was also part of that core. And, they lost a couple defensemen over the summer, Ekman Larsson and Montour. And those were two big losses. But slowly they got Seth Jones during the season. Mikkola has come out of nowhere to really become a real strong defenseman, develop really quickly. And again, like I said, out of nowhere. So suddenly the defense is as strong as it was last year. Now that Mikkola has basically Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and Seth Jones is kind of like Brandon Montour. Montour maybe a little more physical, but for the most part, Jones has played hard. He provides offense. And so they're kind of right back where they were last year. They get Marchand, so now their third line is really smoking. They have a fourth line with character and definition, which is, always tough. They're kind of like the middle relievers of baseball. You kind of sign guys. And usually sometimes it comes together. Sometimes it doesn't. You can get guys relatively cheaply. But that fourth line is looking really good. They play sturdy with Gadjevich and Greer and Nosek. And so suddenly they're right there again, and they almost look a little better than last year. So both teams are better than last year when it went to 7. I just think Edmonton's a little more depth than last year. So maybe they're a little more better than the Panthers are better. And maybe just that little bit means they win Game 7 and the Panthers don't win Game 7. So I think if that's how close it is. Like they might be 8 minutes and one player different, where last year they would have tied the game with this team, Edmonton, and they couldn't. And maybe this year, if they're in that situation again, they do tie that game. go to overtime and win the Stanley Cup in overtime. So I think it's certainly that close on paper.
John Buccigross once again breaking it down for us. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final Wednesday night at Rogers Place up there in Edmonton. I can only imagine the scene there in Edmonton. I mentioned this earlier, and as from a betting standpoint, trends can be your friend and they could also be completely irrelevant. But I'm curious your thought on the last time we saw a rematch of the Stanley Cup Final was in 2008. Was it 2009 when the 2008 Detroit Red Wings beat the Penguins, and then the Penguins got their revenge. Do you make anything about that? The last time we saw it, the team who lost the year before ultimately won. I know you're leaning Edmonton here, John. Does it have anything to do with the fact that these teams are familiar with each other, or is it just Edmonton is slightly better in your eyes than what they were last year?
Yeah, just the hunger factor and the desperation factor for McDavid and Draisaitl to try to get this done together. McDavid is a free agent after next year. This would be his extension summer. So this is obviously a big summer to get that done. If it doesn't get done, well, what does that mean? Does he want to move on somewhere else, like a Wayne Gretzky, shift? It's a heavy burden to wear up there in Edmonton. He can pick wherever he wants to play. All other 31 teams would want him, so he can pick his location, even though he's not a free agent yet. But maybe he wants to stay there 8 more years and play his whole career there. I don't know, but he's certainly in a position maybe to, if we win, maybe it's a good time to move on. I did what I did for the city. Now I want to kind of have a new chapter, and with better weather and a better whatever. So I just think there's a lot of desperation there for the Oilers. And sometimes, when you have an army backed up against the beach or against a cliff, that's when they're going to fight the hardest. So kind of metaphorically, Edmonton